Hello, everybody. Today we got in the house Mr. Kevin Demers of Coldroom Bar / El Pequeño / there's a pile of bars, but we'll just go Kevin Demers of Coldroom. I know you do a lot of other things as well, but welcome to the Freemium Podcast today. Really excited to have you in here. How you been?
Thanks, buddy. I've been pretty good.
Yeah.
Still trying to find a mother company name so that it can hone into just one name.
Makes sense. So for those of you that don't know, Kevin is his dad, Daryl Demers, was my hockey coach back in the day. This is like when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. I always say to this day, and I seriously mean this, I've had a lot of good coaches. He was the best coach I ever had in the sense that like no one would mess around when he was there, and you had a little bit of fear. Like I was a little bit afraid of him, but the respect was there, like in a good way, because if he lost his shit, but he would always lose
My
his
brother and I are still scared of him.
Fuck, man. Like he was what a great coach, seriously. And from that early of an age, he taught me a lot about discipline. I mean, we would work our asses off, but that's why we had such a successful team. I mean, your brother plays in the NHL, Alex Biega played in the NHL, Kyle Kelly had a really good career. There's a lot of players from that team that went on to have really good hockey careers. So I think Drew Paris, he played in Europe for a while. He was a great hockey player. Yeah. So
he's been it's funny, my dad anyone who calls my brother and I like grew up with us and stuff like that or played hockey with us. Yeah. Never ask us how we're doing first. It's always, hey, how's your dad? Every time. If not, the opposite is like good friends of mine that used to like live at our house or something like that. Would, hey, how's your mom? How's your dad? Yeah. Jesus. How about us?
What about chopped liver?
It's really funny to see because it's nice to see because especially being older age now and realizing the impact that my father and my mom had on not just like myself and my brother, but a lot of the community. Yeah. It's really, really nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, he was seriously, he was the best coach I ever had. A lot of impact, and especially because when you're that young, you're very malleable, I guess you could say, on your habits and stuff like that. And he ran a tight ship, man. He taught me a lot about discipline and, show up to work hard. If you work hard, it's all regular things in life that I think sports brings. And this is why, at our office here, I love when someone played competitive sports right away. If I'm looking at their CV or the resume and I see
it's the dream.
Yeah, competitive hockey, anything competitive, especially a team sport, even a singular sport like tennis or golf, it's fine, but as long as it's high level. But as soon as I see that right away, I'm like, ooh, okay, I want to get this. I want to interview this person. I
have every time that we have somebody who has that on their resume. Yeah. Any one of my partners or managers, they all look at me and they go, "You're gonna like this person, guaranteed." I go, "Why?" Athlete. Because they don't believe it, and it's just I've seen it firsthand so many times that someone who's comes from an athletic background. I'm not saying people that aren't athletic don't work hard.
No, of course.
But there's just this different mentality, and you'll go through the muck and the grind a little bit more than somebody else. If it's not the best of circumstances, you just still go through it, work hard, and there's usually a nice outcome that comes out of it.
What else do you think it is about athletes that makes them great coworkers?
Easily just the hard work part. Yeah. Hard work, they're easy to teach or mold, especially if they're coming in green. Yeah. They want to learn, which is the part that's like the best to get from somebody, where it's like they're really excited to learn something, they're eager, they're 100%. I don't want to say, because this is an old boss of mine that I took a lot from. He used to call everyone soldiers, and he'd be a good, in French, he goes, "Yeah, beau soldat." It's like, okay. But I understand what he means by it, where it's just, there's sometimes someone has to be a part of your team that has to listen and get the job done. It's not always do what you want and your way or the highway. It's like, listen, there's a structure, follow it.
We have a system in place. This is how the system
really what
works.
It is.
Yeah.
you know?
And I find especially too for the athletes that have played high level hockey, I mean, if you go in there and you try to run your own system on a high level hockey team, the coach is going to look at you and go, what the hell are you doing, buddy? Listen to me. And if you don't listen to the coach, there's a good chance that you're going to be shipped out.
You're going to be a bookmark, bud.
Yeah.
Split the D in the forwards.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
Yeah. And they have to, that is one great thing about, you can kind of, with athletes, you can kick them in the ass if they how do I say this? Generally speaking, if you give them criticism, they respond in the proper way a lot of times. And they don't crawl up in a ball, because there's two types of employees you can get. You can get the ones where, let's say someone's lacking doing something, you can kick them in the ass and they're going to shrivel up into a ball and they're just going to shut down. And there's more. We were talking about this earlier. More and more it's becoming like that, but there's still a lot of great employees and a lot of great coworkers that are out there. And the other type of person you can get is you can kick someone in the ass and they're going to go, oh yeah, I'll show you. And they respond in a positive way. So it's kind of
tough love. That's
tough love.
It's
Exactly.
Tough love.
Yeah.
And again, it's not always the best managerial approach with some people.
Yeah.
And that's what
Kevin, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit closer to the microphone.
I think that's what I've gotten out of some of the people that I've gotten to work with.
Yeah.
A solid manager or somebody who's just taking care of your employees.
Yeah.
Knows the difference of who to be tough love with and then who to be, a little bit more gentle and approachable. Where to me, it's just, that's what it is. It's cut and dry, black and white.
I find that's the art of being a good manager, though.
True.
It's recognizing how each one of your employees is going to respond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, no. You can't kick this guy in the ass. Or this girl, she's going to shut down. You got to have a much softer approach, pet the ego first. But it takes a bit of time to learn how each person is going to respond. But a good manager is going to recognize that. That's
what's funny is that, and that's going all the way back to growing up with my dad. So it's been tough love, but it's always been fair, but he's still rigid. If he was hard on the team, he was harder on my brother or I.
I'm sure, yeah.
By 5 times harder.
Yeah.
So I've always been like that towards people as well. But in a work environment versus an athlete environment, and that's why, talking about working with athletes specifically, it's a lot easier because you can talk like that and be a bit more blunt.
And they're used to it with their coach.
Well, that's it. Yeah. They're like, okay, I've seen this before. Yeah. This is easy. But then there's the other ones where it's just like, they're just like, whoa, what is this? So it's just like, okay. So there's a buffer.
No, you're right.
There's a buffer in between it now where there is somebody on I have a few people on my team that are a little bit more, they know how I am.
Yeah.
And again, if it wasn't for these people, it would be probably a lot harder to micromanage how many businesses that we have operating right now, just because it's like me, I'll tell you something and it's one time and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not 15 times. You got to get it done, please. I'll be polite. I'm not going to be mean about it, but it's just let's go. And then
I think there's something to be said though about, all the companies generally speaking that are very successful today or past leaders, the Steve Jobs and stuff like that. Steve Jobs, and it's always an interesting debate. He was borderline abusive. Well, from what I've read, I wouldn't say borderline abusive. He was abusive towards his employees, especially his top employees. But there's something to be said about look at all the products and look at the culture that he created with Apple. So I'm not saying that you should try and be like Steve Jobs and be an asshole to all of your employees. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that I'm like Steve Jobs or anything like that. I'm just saying that look at everything they accomplished. There's something to be said for it. And there's a time and a place to be an asshole. I don't agree with his style of management. That's not how I manage. But
same.
I guess when you're that high up and you have that much of an impact on the world, there's a reason why Apple was able to do what it did. And it's because of him. That's my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny because when it comes to managerial approaches now, the way I've sort of taken ownership for myself, this is 7 years ago now, my sort of ownership approach, or my managerial approach, if you want, has been give the people in the bar restaurant industry, especially the people that I'm working with, the opportunities that either I wish I had, or someone would have given me, or would have been lucky enough sort of to fall into it.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that before, just like a little bit, that Montreal is a funny place when it comes to the nightlife, because it's very all the same people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't expand out of that.
Yeah.
And the problem is all of the same people means all of the same styles.
Got it.
So everything opens, it's always the same thing.
Let's get into this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
I'm gonna get hated. I'm gonna get hated on.
No, but
why I don't do podcasts.
Let's talk facts. What's your grudge with? Grudge isn't the right word. What do you think? Overall, do you think the Montreal nightlife is? If you had to give Montreal nightlife a score on 10, what would it be?
Actually, I don't compare. Okay, this is a good one. I don't base it off of a score. What I base it off of is levels.
Okay.
Use New York, Chicago, Miami. I'm forgetting one in the States. I'm forgetting one. We'll just use those three for an example.
New York,
now.
Miami, LA, maybe?
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Those are like first tier cities.
Okay.
Then you have B tier cities. And by the way I'm speaking right now is a little bit more cocktail centric.
Okay.
The reason I'm explaining like that is because yes, my domain is in bars.
Yeah.
Or hospitality if you want, but more specifically, it's cocktail oriented.
Uh-huh.
So looking at it on a cocktail bar perspective versus a club and all this stuff, because everything is a little bit different, right? You have nightclubs, you got wine bars, you have cocktail bars, you have high-end restaurants, casual restaurants, list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't divide it like that. I started to, because I've tried to open different things that are not sort of what my focus is, which being cocktail bar focused. I'm in my lane right now. I'd like to stick to that for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll start delving into the, the nightclubs and this and that if I really want to. But Montreal, as far as cocktail goes, it's not even on it's not even the C and
or on the map.
Third tier yet.
Really?
It's introductory, which is nothing wrong with that. And that's El Pequeño is an example of that. El Pequeño is an introduction to Cuban-style classic cocktails.
Okay.
That was the idea behind it. And Barbello, which we're opening in Little Italy, is an introduction to Italian-style classic aperitivo cocktails. Reason being is because people know of it, but they don't know the history and they're not educated on it. So the idea of a cocktail bar, at least my perspective, is to educate you on what you're drinking versus what we're accustomed to growing up, which is just walk into a bar, give me tequila bang bang, and let's just the Quebec style, right? It's just like, let's just booze it up hard, quick, and get out of here.
Yeah.
You go home.
I'm all about efficiency.
Oh, that's it. It's in and out. But when it comes to the general, if I had to give a score, I wouldn't be able to give a score. What I would say is that I find, this is just, again, my opinion, the Montreal hospitality side of things has become a bit stagnant. And there hasn't been anything really new.
New in terms of theme and the vibe of a restaurant?
Yeah, everything. The all around restaurant, bar, club, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'd argue that maybe Yoko Luna is maybe the closest thing.
Yeah.
I think what John Jay is doing is fucking fantastic. As far as his hospitality group that he's building with Gigantic.
Yeah. What else do they have?
Yoko Luna, Bordel.
Bordel.
Music.
Okay.
Farsides. And I think I'm forgetting one.
Okay. I don't know Farsides. What's that?
Jesus. It's going to come out. It's Taiwanese and Hawaiian style, like merged. If I understood correctly.
Okay.
I should know this. It's like down the street from my house.
The only issue that I find with Yoko Luna, I don't know if the demographic here in Montreal can support that, because it's
a big space, man.
It's very big.
Almost 30,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's massive. So the overhead to run a place like that is extremely high. Yeah. And then, Montreal, it's not like Toronto. There's not as much money around in Montreal as there is in Toronto or other major metropolitan cities. So I don't know if, I don't know, my opinion, whenever I go in there, I go, holy crap. Like the first thing I think of is how much is this place? What's the overhead just to run this place?
Yeah.
And so it's like high risk, high reward. If you get it packed and filled up 2, 3, 4 nights a week, I mean, yeah, you're making bank. But I just feel like in a place like Montreal, you're not going to get that. But I don't go to those places. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. But that's just my feeling.
It's a niche clientele in Montreal until summer hits, where tourists are in town, and then you still have to attack the tourist demographic. But when you speak about anything club related, that demographic, because I've worked in a club before, and a few actually, and the way that they market their businesses, which is an approach that I've taken, and this is from one of my mentors that I used to work with at Rouge Bar, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Who his idea was going to restaurants, and that's like we do our staff outings and stuff like that. And as a manager, you'd walk in, because I was one of the managers there. You'd go to a restaurant, give a business card, and that's how you'd start marketing your business. Just guerrilla marketing, straight up.
Yeah.
And it's done wonders for us as a cocktail bar. Like I'd go into, give you an example with Coldroom. I used to have this windbreaker with our logo on it.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of Rome and at a restaurant, and this guy goes, Montreal? I go, sorry? And he goes, Italian guy, barely speaks English. And he goes, Coldroom? I go, yeah? And he goes, the duck, I know. It's like, are you kidding me right now? And that, only reason is because his, what was it again? Like his cousin's friend referred it, who that friend works at a restaurant that I go to often. And it's just how funny, how small the world is. If you can impact one person, it just, it can just go so far. And I find that marketing approach was very interesting, but that's been the same marketing approach now for 15 years.
So guerrilla marketing.
Yeah. Like
what is, because I don't even fully understand what marketing is. A very, very, very broad topic. We talk about this all the time with Joey, and we have like a little marketing team here at KBD. What is exactly guerrilla marketing?
I say guerrilla marketing. Yeah. It's like strap on the boots on the ground. If that's the right term, I hope it is, because if not, I'm going to look like a fool. But the reason I say it like that is that
Joey, can you look that up for us?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. What is it? Definition?
Is the creating use of novel or unconventional methods in order to boost sales or attract interest in a brand or business. These methods are often low or no cost.
Unconventional methods.
i.e. Instagram used to be.
Got it. So because they can't hear Joey. So basically, a guerrilla marketing is just unconventional methods of marketing, using marketing tactics. So I guess that would be old school
Instagram.
networking.
Well, look, Instagram was that originally.
Yeah, not anymore.
When you look at it, no, now it's you got to pay to play to get your stuff boosted up a little higher on the algorithm.
That's why I'm still a firm believer of face-to-face, old school networking, person to person. And I sound like a broken record, but this is why I hate the permanent work from home mentality. I like the hybrid system, no problem. You want to work from home some days, fantastic. Go work from home some days. That's I'm cool with that. But the permanent remote, I think long term you're just asking for trouble. People are people. I mean, maybe I'm probably biased because I'm extroverted. I like to go talk to people. And what a better way to get into business? Like I'm for insurance. If I go see someone, meet them, speak to them face to face, I have a way better chance of that person becoming like my client afterwards, as opposed to just calling someone or sending them an email, a faceless email. You know what I mean? It's you gotta pick up the phone,
email, text, whatever it is.
No. The best is face to face. Second best is phone.
True.
And then the rest is, and a lot of times people go, cold calling doesn't work anymore. No. It still works. You're afraid to do it because it sucks.
Cold calling?
It sucks.
It's the worst.
It's terrible.
It's the worst.
That
was like one of my first jobs, like 16. I was like, no, it's a week long.
But it works.
It does.
It works.
It does.
It works. Especially once you get good at it, you can speak to people and you can you're still going to get rejected most of the time, but it does end up working.
But the face-to-face though it's where it's at.
Yeah.
And it's, again, especially for anything that's related to a brick and mortar, like a bar or restaurant.
Yep.
It's like number one.
Of course.
You have to. Like, you have to. And it's something that I've been, again, in the cocktail community, it's very different than the rest of the bars and restaurants, the way they do things. But, we do events like internationally, just an example, right? And it's not only for us to market our businesses.
So what type of events, can you just add a little bit more detail there? So what type of events do you guys do internationally? And is this Coldroom doing the events internationally? Is this, I know you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you're looking to get kind of an umbrella company and have all the different brands underneath. But for now, so would this be, what you're doing these international events on behalf of which brand?
Depends on the brand. Right now we're doing, with El Pequeño, we're focused on doing this different style of pop-up event where the concept in itself is you go to another business and the marketing style is it's two baseball teams competing against one another.
Okay.
But that's the concept of the event. So you walk in.
And you guys plan this concept?
Yeah. This is the only time I'm ever going to say something like this. I always, because in business, anytime I speak about my business, I never say I always say we.
Yeah.
Because if it's not for the newest person on the team, all the way to me, the business can't function properly.
Yep.
So to me, it's just a wheel. And if, that one person's not there, you're going to get some bumps going on. And for me, this one event is mine. Where
Kevin Demers
builds
this event.
This is a patented Kevin Demers idea.
Okay, fair enough.
So the idea in itself was a baseball themed pop-up event. And basically a pop-up is you as a business bartender go to someone else's bar and promote your bar. I find, my opinion on these things internationally, especially, they're very lackluster. They're very lackluster. They're
boring,
super boring. Especially with a lot of cocktail bartenders, they're very introvert and they look down. They don't communicate too well with people.
Cocktail bartenders.
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm staying away from the word mixologist. I'm not saying everybody, by the way.
Yeah.
But there's a good amount of them that are not too personable.
Huh.
Which I understand, because when I started bartending for 18 years old, and the reason I started is because I was so shy, I couldn't speak to women. Zero. Dude, I can tell you the story of my first girl I ever asked out. All my buddies forced me to ask her out.
Okay.
Finally asked her out, never spoke to her again. She said yes, though. That was the positive. But I was just that shy.
So she said yes, and this is back in the days, probably before Instagram DMing and all that stuff.
100%.
This is like you got to pick up the phone and call her.
You had to go and speak to her.
Yeah.
Never spoke to her again.
Yeah.
And anyway, I got into bartending for being able to communicate, and my idea behind it. So I do understand why people are still introverts behind a bar. My idea behind it was, I'm not going to people like a waiter has to.
Yeah.
People are coming to me. So it's breaking that barrier right away. But then I have this bar in front of me that's going to break that barrier to actually communicate with people. And yeah, it worked pretty well. Like, here we are now, and I'm still, I don't work behind a bar anymore, but it's gotten me to where I'm at now.
These international events?
Well, starting as bartending as starting as just being an introvert bartender.
Okay.
But now fast forwarding to now, it's seeing these introvert bartenders who aren't using the bar the same way that I did, and they're just using it to be creative and making a beautiful drink, basically like a chef. Well, the issue here is that you're not a chef, you're a bartender. Mm-hmm. And a bartender has to communicate with people. There are people literally in front of you wanting to talk to you.
Yeah.
So if you can't do that, we got a problem here. So that part is very difficult to teach and educate on, because, some people have the gift of gab and other people just don't. So, and
you can always get better at it. But for example, if you're born an extrovert, the introvert who can get better at being a little bit more extroverted will still never be as outgoing as the naturally born extrovert. Like you can get better at it, but to a certain point. They'll never be able to, like a shy person will just never be as outgoing. I'm going to pump my own tires here, but I'm very extroverted. Like, I'll talk to anybody and I don't care. The shy guy will never get to as extroverted as I am, no matter how much they practice it. And it's kind of...
Well, yes and no, unless they force their way out of it. And case in point, I forced my way out of it because like it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start taking. I still remember this. I took acting classes. I think at like 17.
Okay.
Just to help me out, like speak to fucking women. Excuse the language, by the way. And it actually helped because the teacher literally put me in front of a girl and I had to speak to her, but like read my lines. Yeah. And now you're talking. Now it's like there's layers to that and depth to it because I have to speak to a girl. I have to read off of a paper where now I'm nervous, so I can't even read. So I'm like, oh my God. But it forced me out of it. Yeah. But there's some people that'll force themselves out of it. And then we really go back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is you can't be tough love with people because people that are introvert, especially behind a bar, people that are introverts, it's like they're also hypersensitive. Yeah. So you have to be very... and again, on the positive spectrum of that, they're unbelievable at what they can put in a glass. They know their flavors better than most chefs that I know. And it's very fascinating to see because there's elements to it, right? You need to know your flavors, but then you also need to know your whatever the liquid is that you're playing with. So it's very fascinating to see.
There's a whole art. It sounds like there's a whole entire art to making drinks.
Yeah. Just like, you know what though? Just like food, same thing. Yeah. It's and people are really starting to see that. And again, it's if you're going to a bar specifically or even a restaurant, the prices now, like you better be. It's
crazy.
You better make something very good because for argument's sake, and I'm lowballing the price now, $15 for a drink.
Oh, that's low.
That's why I'm lowballing it.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And it better be good because, again, now you're falling into other elements of Google reviews, Yelp reviews, and you'll see very quickly, a place is great, but the drinks are so expensive, they suck. And then you're trying to manage people's expectations for what they're paying, which is a whole other conversation.
So I guess if the cost is going to be, on average, I would say, especially for downtown, it's going to be about anywhere from $18 to $23 for a good cocktail. I think that's fair to say.
Depends where. Depends how big the space is. Depends. There's so many factors.
On the name.
There's so many factors because just your fixed costs. Like if you have a 10,000 square foot space, like you're not getting a $5 drink unless you're pumping out like it's a student bar.
I want to get into this because I love picking the brain of a restaurateur and basically because people, this is what people don't understand is sometimes they go to these restaurants. It's a very, very, very difficult industry, restaurants or bars or anything in hospitality. And you can't hide anything anymore. Number one, everyone pays cards, so it's very difficult to hide the cash. Number two, every single time you print that bill, the receipt, the government, you basically, there's no cash sales anymore. They've completely disappeared versus
5 to 10% max.
But 30 years ago is what? Some places,
70?
Yeah, exactly. So the restaurants were able to make it. You can't hide anywhere anymore. It's such a difficult living to make, especially in Montreal. Can you I want to get into this. What are the actual costs of running a restaurant? Because everyone's going, oh my God, it's so expensive. I can't afford to eat here anymore. These restaurants are ripping me off. It's like, guys, you don't understand how many, the cost for this restaurant have also increased drastically compared to 5 years ago. So can you educate us on what those costs are?
Well, if you start with just your base cost, which is rent, right away, look at the housing market. It's going the same thing with the commercial market. Commercial market, it's getting up there very quickly as far as how much per square foot a space is. Again, depending on the space, I can give you an example. I won't name the name of the restaurant, but or the landlords. But I know of a location that was available next to a restaurant that was just and still is doing extremely well. at least on a smoke and mirrors perspective, where it always looks slammed, doesn't mean they're making money.
Yes,
FYI.
That's another big thing.
But right next door to them, there was a space available, broken down, just awful, about 1,500 square feet maximum. So the size of Coldroom, it's like a 50-seater.
Yeah.
They were asking for, I think it was $15,000 in rent a month.
A month.
Oh yeah, a month. And I asked specifically. I go, why so high? Like, are you gonna drop?
It's like
$100
something a square foot.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
So he goes,
to put that into perspective, just to basically, like, for us, we're in the West Island. My office, I pay $23 a square foot here. So it's like it's like 5 times the price of the rent that I pay here. Yeah. But continue, go ahead.
And he goes, well, they're busy. Okay. And your point? He goes, well, that means you guys are going to be busy. That's not how this works.
No.
It's really not how this works. And he goes, oh, no, I believe in you guys. It's like, well, that's not a thing. So just that alone already is an issue. So if you can't find a place that is a good rent, or if you don't own the building.
Yeah. So to keep your costs down.
Yeah, you have to. It's your fixed costs. Yeah. Because again, if things start going bad, you're not making enough money just to pay off your fixed costs, you're already going to have a problem. And I'm only talking about rent right now.
Yeah. So what else outside of rent that
funny enough, we're here now. Insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance is a number. It's number 2 guaranteed. Finding a good insurance plan, good insurance broker, believe it or not. And I'm not plugging you, by the way.
Yeah.
It's turning into a plug.
Yeah. If I could just say one thing on the insurance side of things, it's as soon as, because you're more in the bar industry, I guess you could say. I know it's hospitality, but it's more of a focus to bars. Most of your places, I believe, have over 50% alcohol sales. Yeah. Would that be fair to say? Yeah. It's a bar. As soon as you get into that realm there, over 50%, most insurance companies go, okay, no, we're not interested anymore. And then so as soon as the supply of insurance companies constricts, I mean, the price is going to go up. If there's only 3 insurance companies where you can get the insurance from for bars over 50, for an establishment with over 50% alcohol sales, the price is the price. So it gets a little frustrating. And what got frustrating for us from a broker, and I'm sure it's even, well, no, I'm sure, I guarantee it's even more frustrating for you guys during COVID when these insurance companies were rinsing you guys. It put us in a tough position for a lot of our clients, and I felt bad for them. Yeah. But it is what it is. Okay.
Well, it's funny because where was I going with that? Jesus.
Insurance.
Insurance.
It's a fixed cost.
We'll skip it. It'll come back eventually.
Okay.
Then you have your employees, your management.
Yeah.
That's not a fix. That's a variable. Your management is kind of a fixed cost at that point.
Yeah.
Depending on your managers.
But even for this, I find that a lot of places are overstaffed, and you have managers managing managers
because
no one actually.
This is a very good conversation.
Yes.
This is a good conversation, but also, again, another conversation that's going to get me probably shot somehow. My opinion, there's like maybe a handful of actual real life managers in the city of Montreal for bar and restaurant. I'm saying that just because from experience as an employee, as a manager, and even when I was a manager, I wasn't there yet. The way I became one is actually owning something. And why I'm saying that is because most managers, you have to, if you want to grow the way, example, like our business is growing, you have to put trust in your bank account on a 20-something-year-old manager. I'm not saying that's not it can't work, but there's a lot of elements to that now because they have your credit card. I can tell you how much I've lost at this point from people who didn't understand. But that money that I lost educated me at the same time as to how to teach them.
So what do you mean if they lost money?
They don't understand a budget. Just example. They think money literally grows on. And I'm speaking about a manager here.
Yeah.
They think that you have endless pockets. Dude, I started with, I almost went bankrupt twice when I was trying to open Coldroom.
Really?
Like straight up. Like that story in itself is, what took me 12 months to open the bar because I ran out of money. My God, my dad came to see me and he goes, what are you doing, dude? He goes, just let it go. Both my parents, they don't drink. They don't come from hospitality at all. So they're just like, what are you doing? And I go, no, I got to open this. Like, this has got to happen here. And luck, like by a string of hard work, luck, you name it, everything, just all the stars aligned and the business succeeded right away, like instantly. And what's funny behind that though is that how much I learned out of that year of trying to open, but then also the first year on budgeting, on trying to teach my employees how to budget. Because most of these guys, they all say the same thing, especially a bartender or a busboy. A busboy will go, oh, I'm ready to be a bartender. Dude, you've been in this industry for 2 months. What are you saying?
Yeah.
A bartender will turn around and go, oh, I can own this place. Same as a manager. Okay, here. Now,
so when you're talking about a budget though, so when you gave the credit card to the bartender, are you giving the credit card to the bartender and the bartender is just buying all the liquor? Like how can they, so you're putting your trust in them to make all the purchases from the beginning?
I have 6 places that I have to operate.
Oh, geez.
How am I supposed to sit down and do all the orders for every place? It's next to impossible, especially with the deadlines that we have with like the SAQ to do our orders, the deadlines we have with like our pay systems that we have to send everything before 5 p.m. Obviously, the employees want their tips. Now that there's no cash that even exists, you have to figure out new ways to pay them and pay them on time because, you know, the old ways of, again, for me, the way I try to run the businesses is how can I run a business without actually having to be there physically? Again, the reason I think like that is because what if something happens? What if, you know, I get injured? How's the business going to keep surviving? And a lot of people in hospitality don't look at their business that way, which is the way everyone else thinks of their business outside of hospitality. They want to run it where it's, you know, if you take a fall, who's next in line, who's able to handle it? If a manager takes a fall, is everything prepared for that manager so that you're not going to break your head? The next person is in line.
Has enough of the stuff been delegated?
More or less, yeah. The reason being is because I designed our business. Our business model is designed off of 5 spreadsheets straight up. Yeah. And those spreadsheets are 6 years of work that I've put in and research and collaborations with different bar owners internationally, restaurant owners, consultants, name it. And these sheets actually operate my businesses fully, like from my inventory and pricing to, which is like all automated. So basically these sheets are basically paint by numbers. I'm not even kidding you. So a manager can come in and literally just has to type in the inventory. The rest does the work for him or her. Like it's super simple. Scheduling, the same thing. And it'll tell them what their budget is. Not only what their budget is, but how much they've spent at this point. Are they over or under that budget? Same thing goes with their inventory and when they're doing their order. They have a budget for that week. It's based off of the sales, a percentage of the sales the week before. Whatever that budget is, don't go over. If you go over, we're going to have a long chat. But the chat's very simple. It's why did you go over?
Yeah, just don't go. There's simple. A budget. Don't go over it.
So, but it gets them to understand, and that's where I can weed out a good manager.
So you've developed. It sounds like you've developed, and I'm sure this is a never-ending process developing a system. But it sounds like you've developed a system where you can go in, implement the system. Okay, Mr. or Mrs. Bartender, you're going to come here. You're going to be in charge of purchasing all the alcohol, purchasing whatever else. Here's your budget. Don't go over it. I'm putting my trust in you to make sure you're purchasing the right items. Is that more or less?
More or less, but I've went further because of COVID. And this is from a consultant friend of mine. His name's Sean Finter. He's an international consultant for bars and restaurants. And Sean Sewell as well, who's a good friend of mine from Victoria. Both these guys kind of brought up, oh, show your numbers. It's like, oof.
What do you mean, show your numbers?
Show your numbers.
To the
Here's
staff.
Here's my P&L sheet.
To the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I started doing that with some of
dude, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because now my managers actually understand what they're looking at.
Yep.
But there's a pro and con to that because then they see, because I show them everything. So they see every cent coming in, every cent going out, and what's left. So they see that number, and if they're able to actually think without being greedy, we'll call it like that, because sometimes the profit margins are very high, sometimes they're very low, depending.
Yep.
And they see that number and they go, oh, there's space for me to have a raise. Okay, that's fine. I'm completely open to that.
Yeah.
But come at me with a presentation.
Yeah.
And again, the way I'm trying to structure that is I'm trying to structure everybody thinking business, because as soon as if you leave the bar restaurant industry, you're going to get a regular job. Job, you're going to have to do all of these things. You need a LinkedIn account. You need a headshot / profile photo that's professional. You need a biography of yourself. You need some kind of professional education, even if it's like the limited stuff. And we offer that stuff at all of our businesses.
What about though, did you ever think about this as opposed to, because yes, a lot of them, especially if they see the profit and loss and there's like a big profit, they're going to go, that entitlement is going to kick in. They're going to go, well, hold on a second. I'm the one here doing all the work. This is what they're going to think.
Yeah.
I'm the one doing all the work. And they have some valid points, when they're making these things. I'm doing all the work. I'm here. I'm boots on the ground. I'm the one that makes sure this place actually runs. I'm organizing it. Your side is, well, I'm the guy who took the risk, so this is for me to get it. Have you ever thought about, as opposed to just being, okay, well, here you go. That's a great presentation. Sure, I'll give you a raise. Have you ever thought about tying in the profit side of things? So it's like,
or 10 steps ahead of you.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay.
So that...
Because that way they have some skin in the game. It's like, okay, I'm not going to give you a raise, but I'll give you this. So if we have a fucking kick-ass year this year, you'll share in part of the pie. If we suck and nothing happens and we lose money this year, well, you can't say we'll cut some of your salary, but if there's no profit, I can't give you an increase.
Well, so the way I structured it, and this is 6 years of just trial and error. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. A lot of people can't because of restrictions with partners, because maybe they don't understand that, because there's so many factors to that. But the way that I ended up doing it, and this is, again, once COVID hit, it was like one of those fresh starts. I built this P&L sheet that's our KPI sheet. And the KPI sheet is all based off of financials. And there needs to be an increase every year. But it's a very, very, very clear cut. This is what we've spent. This is what we have left. These are our sales. This is how much we spent in labor. And it's all color coded to the point of, if things go over what it's supposed to be, example, we don't go up to 30% for our labor costs. We go up to 25%. Why? I like to have a 5% gap in case, because you never know. If they hit 25, it's good. I'm happy. Everyone's happy. But that labor cost is also incorporating the management fees. So if managers turn around and say...
does this include... this does not include tips. This is just you guys...
No, just us paying.
Okay.
It's like tips is more or less, if you want to call it, bonus at that point.
Okay.
And if a manager turns around and says, oh, there's space for a salary. Okay, no problem. Let's talk about it. You're at 24%. There's like 1%. How much is that? Okay, you want more than that? That's not a problem. But how are you going to get the sales to equate to that?
This is my ratio. I need to respect
10%.
So, yeah.
As a manager, you need 10% extra on sales. Simple as that. Too. Even if it's $100, 10% of that, you're good. No problem.
Huh.
So and
it's a win-win for both you guys.
It is.
If they do achieve more sales, well, it's good for you. It's good for that manager.
Well, here's the fun part now. now we're getting into the meat of it. So what I put together after that is, if we can hit our numbers, the business needs to hit. My number for my business is 15%. You have to hit 15% profit. If you hit 15% profits, anything above that, we put into a pot. That pot gets broken down to the management team, gets broken down soon. We're still trying to figure out the system behind that because we want to start putting the rest of the team in there if they've been there over a year. Because again, everyone should get a little bit of something. Why not? Like, seriously, why not?
If I can add some, maybe just an idea here, and this is one of my buddies, a very successful company. Won't name drop them though. They make a lot of money. And before, so the owners used to basically just go into the pie. It was so they'd have their profits at the end of the year. They've had profits for a long time. And it was very, I don't want to say sloppy, but it was all over the place. Sometimes they take more, sometimes they take less. They've gotten the company's so big now, and it's systematic in the sense that, so at the end, let's say they had $10 million in profit at the end of the year. They would have 25% that was split amongst the owners and the key employees. So whatever that number ended up being per person. And the other 75% they would keep in the company to save for a rainy day, to reinvest back into the company.
Exactly what I do.
Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
To a T.
So it's just, yeah.
That 75% though, the way I put it, which is the phase 2 of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So you have this giant bonus structure that's available for the upper management, the operators, everyone on the team, anyone that sort of touches the business to advance it. But then you have the other option of the people that are prepared for ownership. Come at me. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you a space so that now you really have a piece of the pie. But you're going to learn how to open a business. And that's the general goal. Whatever you can put in financially, we'll have that discussion. And usually I have a number specifically for how much you're going to put in, because most people, and that's just the general fact, is most either managers or bartenders, and as far as savings go,
have zero.
It's like maximum I've ever heard is like 30K.
Yeah.
Like maximum.
Yeah.
And again, that's like their savings that they can spend. They might have shares, mutual funds, whatever it is. Yeah. Shares, stocks. But so my number is usually in that range where it's put that you get 5 to 10%. You're operating the space, but you're also an owner, etc. And then I'm going to build you up to basically where I'm at now. That's the common goal.
How many people do you have? I know it's probably different per location. Generally speaking, how many owners do you have per location?
2 to 4 at most.
Okay.
No, 2 to 3, excuse me.
2 to 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Because there's some places, and I just look at all the owners, and you're looking at all the people.
11
that are there.
Owners. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing, man?
I'm trying to understand.
How do you get anything done?
Well, I'm trying to understand, not even about how to get anything done. I'm trying to understand where the money goes, because I can turn around and say where the money's going for us.
Yeah.
But then I hear that, and I also know the numbers like in general, and I can walk into a space and I know sales for one night. I can basically more like most guys in the industry, they can figure it out pretty quickly, like just an average. And then you sit back and you just go, okay, if you're making even 5 to 10%, which is like industry standard, most people are making about 5 to 10% profit.
Margins you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. And you have 10 people that you got to spread the wealth to.
Yeah.
How the hell do you make that decision?
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on here?
I totally agree. And there's sometimes I've heard of places and they just have, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 owners in a place. Yeah. And you're going, it must be a shit show all the time. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. I've never heard of a place like that in the long run working out. I mean, in a business, most businesses you're going to have, in our business, there's myself, we're 3 owners on paper. Sorry, technically 4, but my father's out. He doesn't do anything. And so, he's out. He's getting out very soon.
Yeah.
Like completely, he's out of it.
Yeah, okay.
So all his shares are going to be purchased and stuff. But yeah, we're 3.
Okay.
And anyways.
Are you guys clear as to who does what? Because that's the other thing. And like in a group of 10.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because it's like when I speak to my lawyers about a shareholders agreement, or if I'm speaking to my accountant about a partner being involved, the first thing that they ask me, okay, what are they doing?
Yeah. Well,
then I feel weird answering, going, I don't even know. What are they doing? Fuck. And then you start thinking about it. You're like, what?
Well, we have myself. We have Intact. They're an owner as well, a percentage owner. So they're the money, but they also offer a lot of consulting services as well. You know, they've been doing this for a long time. They know, like, okay, that's a good ratio. That's not a good ratio. This needs to be fixed. And they're very hands off, actually. You know, we're a growing company, so they kind of just let us do our thing. They're great partners to have. And then the third partner would be Adam. So I work boots on the ground, drumming up business. Adam works, does the same thing. Intact's essentially the money, but they also do a few other things that help benefit the company.
Okay.
But sometimes I'm not very fond of me saying that they have equity, but I'm like, guys, you can go on a Registre des Entreprises and see
that's the funny part about Montreal. By the way,
if you want to see who
call
owns
it what it is. Yeah, let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
That is my favorite website.
Yeah.
Because how many people have walked in and go, I'm an owner.
Hey, no, you're not.
1 minute, please. No, you're not.
Yeah. Dude, the amount of places, it's like there's a lot of owners in the hospitality scene in Montreal. And you know what? I'm sure it's like that anywhere. You know, you go to these other places and stuff. They go, I'm an owner. I don't know why people do that, though. It's like, if you're not an owner, don't say you're an owner. I don't understand.
Depends if they're hitting on somebody or not, right? That's it. To me, at the end of the day, it's never bothered me. How many articles have come out saying that it's somebody else that owns Coldroom? Like, I'm dead serious. Like, there's still articles that come out today saying someone else owns Coldroom, not me.
Yeah, but that's just a matter of, and the journalist is just not doing or the blogger's just not doing the due diligence. It takes 2 seconds to find out who owns what.
But the funny part behind that is how many people take offense to that. That doesn't even
you don't
no
care.
problem.
You're like, whatever, it's publicity for Coldroom.
It's at the end of the day, it okay, fine. It hurts. It's like, oh my God, I work so hard. But at the end of the day, the space does well.
Yeah.
Business is great. We're getting some kind of marketing. That's even better.
Yeah.
And again, Coldroom sort of being classified as a speakeasy it gives that allure of no one knows who the owner is. So it's even better. It's like, great. Perfect.
That's a good way to look at it, Kevin.
Yeah, perfect.
That's probably why you're a successful businessman.
Trying.
Okay, so here, I just want to go back to this. So we talked about rent. So these are the fixed costs for restaurants or any bar, whatever. Rent, that could eat up your profits. We got the insurance. We got the employees. After that, we got what?
Man, you have a list of stuff. Your variables, your professional costs, your...
What do you mean professional costs?
Lawyers and accountants.
Okay. Yeah,
and then there's a list. You have your linen company. You have... depending if you're renting any equipment, if you're financing any equipment, because a lot of restaurants or bars, they'll turn around, they'll finance it for 3 years. Yeah. And again, that means you're still paying someone for 3 years.
Generally speaking, when you move into a new place, how much will it cost for the betterments, I guess we can call it? So to do the renovations, to make it look, you want the style, the vibe.
Is it an eggshell space?
Yeah, I'd say it's an eggshell.
Okay. Eggshell, you're looking at minimum 250, and that's on the low end. And
this is for a how much square foot space?
1,500, 2,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say 2,000.
And generally speaking, the landlord is going to chip in for some of that, or depends on the lease?
Depends on how good you're negotiating your lease, because there's some landlords will say, I would love to call them all out. One of the things that I did and how I learned is I did 2 things once Coldroom opened. Is I started visiting spaces, whether or not I was making a move on it. I was literally just visiting spaces to speak to landlords, to understand the lingo, because I got very, very lucky with Coldroom and the landlord that I had at the time. He just recently sold a building and we're still very close friends. And I think the world of him, because
of the new landlord?
The new landlord, actually, yeah, I love them. They're actually awesome. But the old one, I think the world of him, because of he taught me a lot on a business side of things, because just the lease. Jewish? No, he's Indian.
Wow, okay.
East Indian.
Because usually that area, a lot of Jewish people own a lot. It's like Jewish, Greek, or Italian that own the real estate.
Exactly.
In the airport.
Exactly. And he he could have really screwed me over with
Squeezed
the lease.
you. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
And the lease was pretty solid. Versus some of the leases that I've negotiated and I've dealt with since then, and some landlords that I've worked with or just even spoken to, and it's been interesting because I got taught very quickly. And so anyway, one of the things that I do often, even now I still do it, I go and visit spaces, speak to landlords, see what they're offering. The other option, I go to banks all the time just to speak to the bank managers, the tellers, ask the most random questions. And that's how you learn. And then I call my accountant every 5 minutes.
But when you're talking to the banks, so you're going there just to kind of see, okay, what financing do you have available? Do you have...
If there is. And for bars and restaurants, good luck.
That was my next question. Yeah. So
good luck.
So a lot of times when you're starting up, one common theme that I see a lot of times when restaurants, bars, anyone in hospitality, when you're starting up a business, the banks aren't there, usually getting it from a private investor.
You want to hear a good one?
I do want to hear a good one.
I'm opening Coldroom.
Okay.
I go to the bank. I'm 6 months in at this point.
Yeah.
No money left. Go, I'd like to get a loan. Oh, your credit's great. No, you have no money. Like literally no money. And they're like, we can't give you anything. Like straight up. And they go, what's it for? I go, bar? And they laughed in my face.
I'm sure.
The same person that laughed in my face. 2 years later, go see him again, offers me the world. Like, here you go, because you have a successful business. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's always like that.
Are you kidding me?
It's always like that, yeah.
And same guy, he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I love your bar. It's awesome. Yeah. I'm like, cool, yeah.
It's
awesome.
only once you have the money that the banks will start getting to you. They're very, very, very conservative, especially Canadian banks in particular. They're extremely conservative with that kind of stuff. I mean, even us, we're an insurance broker. I still can't. If I went to go ask now, I probably would. But even a year ago, if I wanted to go get a loan from a bank, they would not have given me a loan on the bank. They don't recognize, for whatever reason, they don't look at our book of business. Insurance it's a recurring revenue every year, right? It's very easy. They don't look at that as an asset. Well, well, it's the whole business, right? So they don't look at that as an asset. So they basically look at our balance sheet and they go, well, you have no assets. Like, we're like, no, the assets.
That's exactly what I'm learning. Yeah. In the last 2-3 years now is the value of an asset.
They want collateral.
Oof, they need it.
Yeah.
For anything. It's not just banks, it's private lenders as well.
They need
something behind.
Because it's like, and this is the next question I have for you. It's very difficult to determine what the actual value of a restaurant or a bar is.
Great question.
What are the industry standards to determine what the value is of a bar
honesty,
restaurant? Yeah.
All honesty, it's, to me, most of that stuff is all make-believe. I'm being honest.
I believe you, yeah.
Reason I'm saying it like that is because you'd have to look at a business the way, if it's not a bar or a restaurant, most people look at the business as how much profit they're making, right? So if you start doing that with the bar or restaurant, that's one thing. But then you have to start looking at, let's say it's a bar or restaurant with a name, with a well-known chef or a well-known DJ, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just a face of a space. That person leaves. Is the business still going to do that exact same number?
Does the goodwill leave with that
brand?
Person? Yeah.
Again, and this is one of the reasons that I make it a point that I'm not at Coldroom or bartending at Coldroom from the opening, was that one of the guys who wanted to invest in me / one of my old bosses goes, this is going to be your bar. This is Kevin's bar. You're going to be there 7 days a week. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, what? I want to be like, no. I can run this without being here. Like, I don't need to be behind the bar all the time. Like, I'm trying to evolve here like everybody else. And he goes, no. You have to be there. It's never going to work if you're not there. So, okay, perfect. We didn't work together. I opened the business, not there. How is it still running? You tell me. Like, I'm not saying that it works like that every time, because that's worked. But in between that, in the last 6 years, I've had businesses that have flopped completely, entirely, 4 to be specific, with a lot of money lost on them. But I learned my mistakes, and now we're going in the right direction as to what we're opening.
Why did those businesses flop?
multiple factors. The main one, location, which is something I didn't believe in at the beginning, because when your first space opens, you get an ego, especially if it opens and it does well.
Yeah.
You get a bit of an ego. Like, I'm not saying you pump in your chest, but you get this ego where you turn around and you go like, okay, I can do it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden your second one opens and it does well also.
Yeah.
But again, your second one's as big as this table.
Yeah.
And then you open a third one, and then the third one all of a sudden just takes a dive.
Doesn't work.
It happens. It's business. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to keep your heart out of it and have your mind involved, where it's, okay, what do we do here? Do we keep the bleeding going and then just die out? Or do we friggin' patch up the arm and keep moving forward? Plug the hole. Let's go. And it's very interesting, to say the least, because if you're not adamant about that and able to be honest about it, and again, have a very, very good lease and a good structure,
keeping your costs under control.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
You could say that about any business a lot of times.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is business. Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping anyone that's working with us, we're able to educate on that, because it's so important. It's so important.
What's it like working with, and again, you don't have to answer this question. I know some people are reluctant to answer this question. What's it like working with the SAQ?
I might disappear at the end of the week. If I disappear, you know why. It's like there's a lot of levels to it. Yeah. For somebody who's bringing products in, it sucks. They're not making, a lot of them aren't making insane money.
And when you're saying products you're bringing in, you're referring to spirits, wines.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, it's so complicated. I don't even know where to start, where to finish. But like, one of the biggest things is that if you have a private import company and you're just bringing in private import, you have like 3 months to sell a pallet. A pallet's like, what is it, like 180 cases or something like that? And that's not always easy to do, especially if you don't have a following.
So you have to sell 180 cases in the SAQ stores.
Or they throw it out.
No,
not in the SAQ stores. You got to go door to door.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because the SAQ also makes the decision whether or not they'll put it on the shelves for you or not. And right now they're like fully focused on Quebec products, which is, we were talking about that earlier. And to the point where a lot of newer products that have been coming into Montreal, the imports, they're not accepting anymore.
Were they always like this? Were they like this 10 years ago?
They've been like this since after Prohibition.
Okay, so they've always been like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nothing new.
The reason I asked the question is I wasn't sure if, I have other buddies of mine that work in the hospitality industry, and it seemed like, there was a lot more complaining going on after COVID. I was just curious maybe that they got more...
I'm talking about a distributor and producer now.
Yeah.
And if you talk about a bar, I'll give you just an example. We have 2 high volume locations. The other ones aren't. So having a high volume location, we can get deliveries. Mm-hmm. Without that, you can't get a delivery. If you're a new business, you need about 2 months before they'll approve you, whether or not they'll do delivery for you. So you have to go pick up the alcohol. And to me, again, it's a waste of time, because there's 2 stores that you can go and get the booze from, because it's the restoration ones. I can't just I can go to any SAQ, but then I need to bring that bottle all the way to restoration to get a stamp on it. So, and I look at my time as very valuable. Yeah. And it's like, you're looking at my time as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
As like nothing. It's like, are you kidding me right now? And again,
it's never going to change.
Our industry, most managers, most bartenders, they don't have cars.
No.
Can't afford it. Or there's no parking in
downtown,
which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one with a car. I have to go and pick it up. Still, it's like, man, I have a lot of other admin stuff that I have to do before I have to start thinking about doing deliveries and pickups. So it's very, very interesting as far as the hurdles that we have to jump through to.
Do you feel that they're on your side as an entrepreneur?
No.
That's a shame.
They try to be on like a public side of things, like social media and things like that.
They try and pretend they're super nice and
not necessarily pretend, because I know their marketing team is actually pretty cool. Especially one of the girls that have been running their social media page. She's actually been very, very cool with us. Okay. With like us being like some of our businesses. With everyone else, I have no clue. But as far as like the guys that do deliveries, the guys that do all that stuff, it's like the stamps. It's just so complicated. It's like, for what? Why? Why you got to make it so complicated? I know you think it's still 1980s and everything is criminally run, and it's all gangs and this and that are running bars and restaurants. It's not.
It's not anymore at all.
It's not, dude. It's a bunch of geeks and bunch of some
young people just trying to make a living.
But
it's like, it makes me, I look at the environment, and again, you know a lot more about the hospitality environment than I do. but I look at the overall environment and the attitude towards the hospitality industry, and frankly, a lot of other industries in Quebec. And I don't like the attitude of the SAQ or other government institutions towards entrepreneurship. I feel like they look down on it
hard.
It's like, oh, you're bothering me. Oh, it's just a poor attitude,
dude,
towards it. It's no one's encouraging. No one's. It's like,
no. Well, that's you put me in a.
We're
spot
opening
here.
up a can of worms.
You're putting me in a spot here. This is a Quebec mentality. Like, and that's the part that sucks. It's crabs in a bucket.
Yeah.
You know, crab starts climbing up, doing well. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, somebody pulls them right back down. And it's for what, man? You should be encouraging everybody, like support.
Yeah.
Like, what's the issue here? Like,
I agree.
Example, our Coldroom's newest menu, and this is not a plug.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like one though. Our newest menu.
Throw it in there, baby.
Our newest menu is basically, and this is what we're going to be going on tour for internationally, doing pop-ups and events.
Yeah.
Our newest menu is the map of Montreal, but with, and you were asking what I think of the restaurant and hospitality scene right now and how to grade it. This is the perfect way to explain it. Our map is the map of the city, but with 14 different locations on it that are all different restaurants that we recommend. The reason for that, our clientele is almost 75% tourists that come in, and they always ask the same question. What do you guys recommend? Where should we go next?
Mm-hmm.
What's next on the list? We want to go to a great restaurant. Most tourists, and I'm not hating on them at all right now, they all say the same thing. They go, oh, should we go to Joe Beef? Should we go to Liverpool House?
Mm-hmm.
Should we go to Garde Manger? Should we go to Pied de Cochon?
Mm-hmm.
100% you should. But there's...
Yeah, they're great restaurants. They're great.
One, they're already slammed. They're already doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And all honesty, I go there often.
Yeah.
But there's other spots. Like, do you know where all of those guys go for dinner? The chefs, the cooks, the managers?
I actually don't. Can you enlighten me?
Tavern on the Square.
Tavern on the Square?
Yeah, man.
Where's that again?
Tavern on the Square. No, it's on oh my god.
It's near St. Catherine. It's in Westmount, right? Tavern on the Square.
Yeah.
Okay, I do know where that is. Tavern on the Square. Yeah. That's the same thing. It's the same owners, correct me if I'm wrong, as Monkland Tavern.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Stephen
Monkland Tavern is excellent.
And John Tricone.
Yeah.
Two really, really cool guys.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. You go there on a Monday, and it's literally all the staff from all of these like top restaurants. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, but everyone in the city knows about it, but no one knows about it, which is wild. But these guys have the verbato, if you want, of closing on Saturday and Sunday. So they're open Monday to Friday.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Are they open for? They're open for lunch too.
No, I don't think they open for lunch anymore.
Just dinner, Monday to Friday.
I think they stopped lunches for a bit. Again, it's their space is literally in an office building.
Yeah, it's in a high rise.
Yeah. And I think the office
buildings. One of our competitors, Fort Insurance, they're right in the Westmount Square as well. And I remember speaking to an owner, and I think I was trying to get their insurance, and I spoke to him, and he said, "Oh, well, a lot of we're insured with Fort, and they come here and eat lunch all the time." I'm like, what am I doing talking to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, and I appreciate that loyalty. I can appreciate that. Like the owner's going, look, I'm with this insurance broker. They come here freaking 3-4 times a week to eat lunch. It's like, I'm not going to give you my insurance. I was like, okay, no problem. Why am I talking to you then? So, but anyways, okay. Another question I wanted to ask you. So earlier on, we were talking about the spirits and the imports and stuff that you're doing. And then you kind of mentioned, I'm looking to go outside of Quebec and Canada. I'm looking more towards the US. What are you looking more towards the US about? What are your plans for the future?
Man, I can't tell everything, but the goal for me is to expand outside of Quebec and or Canada. And have a company that offers more opportunities than just places in the city, and also gives you an opportunity to, let's say you want to go work in, I'll throw somewhere in Europe. Well, we have a business over there, whether it's a restaurant, bar, hotel, whatever it is. And I find, and what I've learned throughout my years doing this, is the amount of education that you get, whether it's working somewhere else, whether it's just visiting another country or city, is so valuable. And you see the difference instantly with, especially in hospitality, from somebody who's traveled to someone who has just stayed in the confines of their city, because their mind is just all on blinders. And it's like, man, there's so much more out there. And for me, it's just to give that opportunity for people just to see that, why limit yourself? Why should I be limiting myself to one business? I'm not greedy. That's not what I'm saying here. Why should I limit myself to one? But then why should I limit myself just to Montreal? Like, there's so much more out there. Why not bring some flavor from Montreal to another city or another country?
Yeah.
And
so right now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're only present in Montreal with regards to the bars. And then you have you're distributing spirits right now. Like, do you have your own brand as it stands now?
We're finalizing one of our brand right now.
Okay.
I have 2 partners, one from New York and then a group from Ireland.
And this is a vodka? This is
it's a mezcal.
A mezcal, you told me that. Excuse me. Yeah, a mezcal. Okay.
And
mezcal, is that another word for tequila, or mezcal and tequila are two separate things? Okay.
In the agave family, but 2 separate things.
Okay.
So, but we're working on that as a first product. The partners that we're working with that I've wanted to work with for 8 years, because I love what these guys do. They're called Drinksology.
Okay.
Everything they've ever done, I've been a massive fan of, as far as interior design work, branding work, and I've been lucky enough to have an opportunity to work with them. It's basically like making it on your favorite hockey team kind of thing. Like, straight up, that's how I feel, getting a chance to work with them, just to see how they work and understand their creative thinking and their process. But they've expanded in those 8 years so much more. They have I think it's about 15 products at this point already. So they already know.
Alcohol related products.
All alcohol related. And what's interesting and cool about that is that they already know what they're doing. So
that's always nice.
They're basically educating me on how to be able to do it alone after this, without having a distillery, without, just focusing solely on a product, but working closely with a distillery. So it's very, very interesting.
What's happened? What has changed since COVID ended?
What's changed?
Like, from a running a business perspective? Because I feel like I'll add a little bit more insight to this question. So, COVID, without getting into COVID, I mean, if you want to get into that stuff, you can. The bars and restaurants, to put it lightly, had a really tough time during COVID, and a lot of the preventative measures that the government used, I felt were they
overkill.
Yeah, well, perhaps, and I think they treated the bars and the restaurants unfairly, and so, but So a lot of bars and restaurants went out of business, but a lot of them didn't. And I think that, my opinion, again, and this is why I'm asking this question, I think that it probably, if you didn't go out of business, it more likely made you stronger afterwards, because you really had to like figure it out. Like, holy shit, I'm probably going to go out of business really soon if I don't figure out how to get around this. So do you think COVID, looking back now in hindsight, do you think it's been a good thing or a bad thing for your businesses as of today? Do you think it's helped or hurt?
My honest opinion, I think it's been a very good thing.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
The only reason I'm saying that is because for me, and speaking personally, it's educated me on so many factors, mainly on how to save. Because when COVID hit, we just opened our third location, which was Parliament, and that was 6 months old. We had a lot of money in that. Never got its legs to grow into something. Then it hit, and then all of a sudden it was just a juggling act of, okay, how do we keep this place open and survive? And we had to change the branding 3 times, different name, different concept. And it's something I don't believe in at all to do. It's like, if it doesn't work, cut it, move on. And we just tried anyway. And it just, you're just doing that after that, just digging a hole deeper and deeper.
Trial and error.
But again, I look at that as an education because, funny enough, I can't remember who told me this, but it's just so true. It's at the end of the day, even if you didn't go to school, education is not free, and education ain't cheap. You're gonna pay for it no matter what. And if it's at school, you might get lucky. Yeah. But if it's in business, you'll see how much it costs very, very, very quickly. And I had that opportunity, and especially during COVID, because we had a lot of our liquidity in there, and we could have easily went under on everything one shot just because of that. But because it was a risk that we took for the third one, and that goes in with loans with banks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we had a banker that promised us, like, locked in, ready to go. As soon as we got to the last day, oh no, we can't give you guys money.
Come on.
So we had all of our liquidity in there, and now we're like, oh no, oh my God, what do we do here? So you have to think on your feet, and then all of a sudden the space opens, starting to pick up, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and now we're like right before summer. So we never got a summer. So we're like, oh God. And now it's on. And what I did instead is, instead of thinking of the sales, start thinking of the savings. And that's where all of this stuff started developing, from our KPI sheets, our budget sheets, because I was just realizing, people are just randomly spending. Because again, if we start talking about SAQ, a lot of the times specialty products that cocktail bars specifically need, are never available. They're available once a year. So you have to buy it in bulk. If you don't have the money, good luck. And when you buy it in bulk, you need place for that. So your inventory is always in the $20,000 to $50,000, just sitting around. But you can't do anything with it because you got to move it now. So it's very interesting when it comes down to it, that you have to figure out the right way to do things. And that's what, my opinion, on a good side, COVID's done. And then without promoting anybody.
Would the word be, I guess, it taught you how to be financially disciplined, more disciplined?
Yeah. And then, all honesty, the federal government was pretty solid with what they were giving out. Obviously, it wasn't massive numbers, but they saved a few businesses that I know of. Definitely helped us out as well. And it's, at the end of the day, any money at that point, especially if you're in a rough patch, is good money.
Yeah. And they gave a little bit of help, or okay, it's okay, you don't have to pay this, or mortgages, or rent.
It's, again, I'm the kind of guy that'll turn around and go, if we don't need it, we're not going to take it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that were like, hey,
I feel the same way though, because it's like, I feel like whenever the only thing we took was an interest-free loan. I'm like, hey, do you want an interest-free loan? And if you pay it back by this date, we're gonna drop the loan amount by $10,000. So it's basically it's number one, a free $10,000. And if you want to throw in the interest, it's like a free, because there's inflation over those years. It's like a free $13,000.
That's it.
So you're kind of dumb not to take it. I mean, everyone's going to take this.
Well, that's it. Exactly.
But I feel like if you take stuff that you maybe don't need, I have the exact same opinion as you. Don't take it. Number one, I feel like it throws you on their radar a little bit. Not to say that I'm here hiding anything, but if I had the choice to have the government here snooping around over stuff or them not be here, I mean, obviously any business owner is going to say, I'd prefer if they were not here.
Obviously.
But yeah, it's kind of, I know a lot of people that did take those handouts, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And
whether or not, like, again, it's one of those things, it's whether or not they needed it or not.
Yeah.
It's their prerogative, not mine. But
did you see a lot of fraud in the restaurant industry for people taking this and then just closing up shop?
That I have no clue.
I think I heard that there was a lot of that happening.
Like we ended up taking it for Parliament, and it just it didn't help. Like especially the location. The location that space is in, it's almost an anomaly in Old Montreal. You'd think in Old Montreal it's going to be busy, doing well. It was a battle,
and it just wasn't. Just didn't hit.
It was just and it happens. Like, you can't win everything. And if at the end of the day, if I was taught anything by my father, is that you're going to do very well if you get a few losses under your belt.
Yeah.
So
teaches you. Okay, so you got your career started in the hospitality industry at Rouge, if I understand correctly.
No, Thursdays.
Yeah,
man.
On Crescent Street in Montreal.
Yep.
That was your first job as a bartender or as a busboy?
Busboy to start, then bar back, and then bartender.
And then you went where after that?
Played hockey.
Played hockey?
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you play hockey by? You played in Europe,
Minors. Right? No, minors. I was supposed to, and then I went, done. Played
for you,
It's not that it wasn't. It was I proved enough that I needed to myself. That because I quit young, and I was just playing like men's league and stuff like that. Everyone was like, you got to try out, go try out. And this is I think was the financial crisis when I decided to just go try out. So like all the minor league teams started folding. So I was just
no money. Fuck.
Oh man. So I ended up playing in the I and in another league under that. For a year and a half, and then just hung them up after that. I was like, you know what, proved enough to myself, I'm happy. Came back to Montreal and ended up playing in the Gaspé version, only a weekend, by the way, the Gaspésie version of the Quebec, the Quebec Pro League. No, the Quebec Pro League.
Pro League. Oh,
I forget
that's the league that I forget the name of it too, but they just fight all the time. It's just like it's a Royal Rumble.
The Gaspésien version.
Yeah.
And I get over there because they heard of this guy who's not playing anymore through like a few friends. That he's an ex-fighter and ready to go. Me
referring to you. I didn't know you were a scrapper.
You had to be at that point because I had anyone I spoke to at that point, they're like, dude, you haven't played in like 5 years professionally. Like, what do you do? What can you do? So I was like, fuck.
You have to drop.
They're like, well, you're 6'2", so how much do you weigh? At that time, I was like 190.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, put on another 20, 30 pounds and come in. I get in 20, 30 pounds heavier. In tryouts, coach looks at me and goes, go get that guy. All right. Boom. Knocked out first punch.
You got knocked out? Or
no, I knocked this guy out first punch. So he goes, Ket, we know what you're doing. And then you get tagged as that. But, every time you start skating a little bit more, then they start seeing you. And then you get an opportunity. You practice, hope for the best.
Yeah.
So, but because I was like an all skills guy when I was younger.
Yeah.
So then playing in professional level where it's like, no. Your size, take on the big boys.
Yeah, you're going to have to throw it on the mitts.
So anyway, I get to Gaspé and then for just a weekend because they're like, oh, you make $500 cash per game and then an extra $200 per fight. great. I'll crush.
How many games a week?
2 games for the weekend. So I'm like, great.
I'll
crush 4 or 5 fights. I'll come out with a few $1,000. Let's go.
Jeez.
They paid for the trip over there, which you have to drive yourself. And,
what's it like going up to? I've never been in a hockey fight. Well, I didn't play high enough level. What's it like when you're about to drop the mitts? I mean, you must have had a couple of instances where you're about to fight somebody,
and you're gonna get your ass
and
kicked?
you're shitting in your pants.
Yeah,
because you're like, oh my god, this guy's gonna beat the hell out of me.
Oh yeah, it's happened.
What's that like?
It's weird because you just have to switch your mentality. And again, being like a shy kid growing up, like I got bullied a lot, and hence why I quit hockey. So getting into that situation right away, a flip switches quick, very quick, because you have to just get on at that moment, whatever it is, and like really,
fight or flight.
But that's it.
Yeah.
And figure it out very fast.
I'm sure.
And I remember one guy, just a monster of a guy. I'll tell you actually a funny one. I was trying out for Muskegon Lumberjacks, and there's a guy named Roman Nadur. His nickname was the Nigerian Nightmare.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeez.
You've ever seen the Netflix show where they talk about what was the team again? They talk about a minor league team. Roman's in that.
Okay.
And anyway, I end up fighting during the tryout. I end up fighting in front of like 15,000 people in Fort Wayne against their actual fighter, and the guy's 5'6" maybe, but I get cross-checked. Just center ice. All I hear is, "Well, you want to go?" I go, "Yep." Turn around and I go, "Oh no, this guy's got like 700 fights under his belt." He just rolls up his sleeves.
He's 5'6".
Oh yeah, but dude, he rolls up his sleeves and he's just got tape there to there, and I'm like, "Oh, I know where this is heading." I got at that time like 50, 60 fights under my belt. Yeah. But I'm like, this is not going to be good. And dude, he just puts a whoop on me, just an absolute beating. And he's just switching fists. Anyway, point. I start skating to the box, and then Roman jumps off the bench, skates to me in front of 15,000 people, grabs me by the back of the shirt, and he goes, "You ever touch a guy that it's my job to touch, we're going to have a problem. Never again." He goes, "But I like your fucking style, bud." I was like, okay, I understand now. So that was a big one. That was interesting too, because then obviously getting higher up, it's very mechanical as far as who does what, and then I had to figure out what my role was at that time.
What's your opinion on them slowly? It looks as if they're slowly trying to take fighting out of hockey. What's your opinion on that?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Do you think it'll happen though?
Yes. Well, it already is. Like, in reality, it's the fights that are going on now. It's all staged. It's not the same. It's not emotional. Like, in the 80s, the 70s, even the 90s.
90s, yeah.
Emotional. Remember, like, Avalanche versus Detroit?
I was literally just about to say that. And like,
it was an emotional fight.
Yeah, they hated each other.
It was real. Yeah, it's not, "Hey, bud, what's up, bud?" No. It's
like, "I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna," for that cross check that Claude Demers gave to Draper, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that just set the two teams off. They hated each other. That was a war.
They still do.
Yeah.
That's the funny part.
That was a war.
And to me, this is just me, but to me, that's what I miss about hockey is I always chirp my brother about that too, where I just like.
It's your brother. His career's done now.
I think this year is the last one. He's playing Bakersfield.
Okay.
Under Edmonton. So he's got a 2-way contract with Edmonton right now.
Okay.
And
he had a nice career.
He's
in the
debating.
NHL.
He's like, it's one of those things. I'm not going to speak for him because it's his career is his career. But he had a great career in the NHL. Yeah,
and he played in San Jose for how many years?
Dude, he played in all the best cities that any player would want to play in. He played in San Jose.
Yeah.
After that, he went to Dallas. Okay. After that, he went and phenomenal city. After that, he went to Florida. Nice. After that, Arizona.
Oh my God.
It's like, what else do you want?
Yeah, weather's a little bit nicer than here in the winter.
Oh my God. So
does he play golf?
Yeah,
he does. Yeah,
that's why I'd bring him to your little showstopper
over
there.
Yeah, cool.
So, but no, he's him too. He's really appreciated everything that he's gotten in his career, and some of the guys that he's met have really sort of taught him the way. And you know, the kid's doing amazing.
I mean, hey, to have an NHL career, it's like it's a dream come true.
699 games in the NHL.
That's a lot of games.
It's one away from 700.
Yeah,
like that's a lot of games.
Good for him.
So yeah, he's done proud to the whole family.
I'm sure Daryl and your mom must be super happy as well. Your mom, it's a Killen, right?
Yeah,
Killen.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. So my mom's the sort of the next in line with us. So she's gonna start working with basically with me doing all the admin stuff.
Okay.
Just because it's funny, because my brother and I have been talking about that for years, where we're trying to set up stuff within, you know, what we have already, and just incorporate our parents and involve them in it, even if like they're not, like they don't drink or anything like that. It's, you know, the first time
they don't drink at all.
No, well, my mom drinks wine here and there, but that's it.
Yeah.
My dad never touched it ever.
He's never drank in his life.
Nothing.
He just never.
Nothing. He looks at my brother and I just going, what the hell?
Good for him. Yeah, good for him.
That's why opening a bar was very. It just didn't make sense. But then once my father understood that it was opening a business, then he started understanding it, because I was treating it like a product, not or an entity, if you want, not just like a fun place where I go hang out with my buddies and get hammered and this and that. Like I didn't grow up like that either. So like even when I was bartending, it was professional. Like, yeah, you have to have a drink here and there with a client, but never out of this.
You're treating it as a business.
Have to, or as a career. It's like, it wasn't my plan for it to be a career, but it fell to that. But it fell to that because at one point I had to make a decision in my own personal life of, do I stick to this, or do I start sticking to what I've been training for during hockey, which was
hockey?
During hockey, I hated to read and I started to write. And because of that, it led me into going to UCLA to get a certificate in writing for film and television. And along that, I started writing scripts and plays and this and that. And like, I really got into it, and started producing and directing and editing my own stuff. And then I got 2 job offers. This is funny because everything kind of happened at the same time. I had 2 job offers. I had an offer in Nashville and an offer in Toronto.
To be a screenplay writer?
No, to be a producer.
Producer, okay.
But that's the thing. As a producer, I can start pitching my scripts, my this, my that, coming up with content or concepts or whatnot. And the crazy part behind it is, I'll send you the video, because I got a job offer with Nashville because of these videos I was doing called Number One Fan. Basically, it was a parent that you didn't know it was a parent. You thought it was just a fan of a player. Was talking about their son. And then at the end of it, like, I use my dad as sort of the example. At the end of it, my dad was like, I'm Daryl Demers. I'm Jason's number one fan. And you see my brother growing up in hockey. And then all of a sudden at the end of it, it's a minute long. At the end of it, you see him in the NHL. And then you see my dad with the NHL jersey. You're like, what the hell? So it got on NHL's radar, and did a few of them, and was going to go to potentially work with the Nashville Predators marketing team on that stuff. But I had to make a choice of doing that, which I didn't really have a lot of experience, of man hours and experience behind it. Or I actually, no joke, when all of that came up, literally 5 days after, I got, because I was really persistent with Coldroom, and it was like that space was going through some litigation stuff because the tenant wasn't paying rent. So the landlord wasn't able to give me the space right away. So it took about 8 months of me basically harassing my landlord, calling him, his sister, his cousin, like anyone I could. I want the space, literally every day. Still not knowing what I was doing, by the way. And then finally he called me. He goes, "It's yours if you want it. You have to come today to sign it. If not, there's 2 other people that want to sign it." No problem. Race over, sign. And before I made that decision, though, I went to this event called Tales of the Cocktail with my brother. And it's an event in New Orleans, which is the biggest cocktail/bar conference in the world. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, I should stick in this industry and not, for at least for the now, and not jump into film and television just yet, for the mere fact that I have over 10,000 hours. And if you've ever read The Outliners, I think it's chapter 2 or chapter 3, it talks about 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And
the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah. And I know, I'm not saying that I know everything, but if I have to put my money where my mouth is on one of these 2 scenarios, it makes more sense being in nightlife than it does for now, for Montreal, than it does jumping into sort of what my dream is in the film and television realm. Interesting. So that's how Coldroom kind of came to be.
Do you have any stories from, because I know you worked at Flygen. Flygen, you know, it seems they've had a very successful run. They're still a very popular nightclub. Mm-hmm. Do you have any good stories? Because
when you stick, like, that's what's funny in Montreal is when you stick to the industry, like, and what I mean by that is like you turn into like the place.
Yeah.
You'll last forever.
Yeah.
Take
it's a staple. Yeah, it's a staple in the neighborhood. Yeah. And so people,
Flygen, same thing.
Yeah.
Music is still open. It's like
Apartment, they do well. Yeah. Apartment 200 on Saint Laurent.
Everything's 10 plus years. That's why we were talking about earlier, is that they all do well, yes, but Montreal's still stagnant as far as new ideas and concepts go. And
why do you think that is?
Comfort, I don't know, space, permits.
There's money.
There's a list of stuff. Could be money as well.
Like lack of money in the system.
Lack of staffing. There's a list of, especially now, staffing.
But wouldn't this, because this is my logic, like why wouldn't these be challenges that any city would be facing? Like why is it unique to Montreal?
Again, this is just my perspective. Yeah. You know, you speak to somebody down the street, they might say, no, Montreal's flourishing in the hospitality industry. And maybe they're right. I haven't seen it. Or at least I don't see it. And again, maybe I'm completely wrong, and which is okay. But what I think is there's just too many hurdles at the end of the day.
To start a business.
For bar, the creativity level, you can't go that far because you can't get products. You can't go that far because there's a lot of stuff you can't do legally.
Like what?
Like batching cocktails. Batching cocktails, let's say I want to make things quicker and I want to batch a drink so that it's ready in bulk. So if we know we're a high volume space and we know our clients love our Negroni, 3 ingredients, you put it in a keg, you pump it out of a
Can't do that.
You can, but you can't. There's now because of COVID, there's kind of a gray area, but do you really want to play with that? Because if you start playing with that and an inspector comes in and then he woke up on the wrong side of the bed, the wording that's used can go against you versus go with you.
Yeah.
Because again, working with Spirits Canada, I had an opportunity to read most of the laws, almost all of the laws for everything that's related to liquor and food as well. And what's wild is just the small wording. Just an example, I don't know if you remember the whole 5-cent fry thing at Globe back, this is 20 years ago, where they were selling, because they had a restaurant permit, and they were, I think it was at Globe.
Oh, yeah. I remember
they were selling fries.
Sell it for $1 and basically, I remember
And then
that.
finally the inspectors go, that's not a meal, because the law states that it has to be a meal. If you're a restaurant, you have to serve a meal with your alcohol.
Yeah.
Now they changed it. It's not a meal, it's a snack. It's an aliment. But what is a snack? Define the word snack.
Yeah.
And again, it falls into like this.
We did the same thing at the Old Orchard back in the day, but it was all by the book. And so people would come in, and we had, after a certain hour, it was $1 pasta.
Yeah.
And then, but how stupid it was we still had to bring out the pasta, because a lot of times the customer would say, put it on my bill, I don't want to eat that $1 pasta, it's going to be disgusting.
Well, that's the problem.
And then they'd be like, don't even bring it out. And then I would have to say, this is when I was a waiter there, I go, I got to bring it out to you. And they're like, all right, cool. Just bring it out.
Well, that's even funnier because now with the MEVs that are connected to your POS, you have to give a bill. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you don't give a bill, you can actually get reported on by the client. Think about that one. This is where we live. We live in a place where you're hoping a client stools on you for not giving a bill. Imagine your employee isn't educated enough, or it's a new employee, or it's whatever it is, and they don't give a bill. And then that person decides to go on the website, which, by the way, is I always do tests just to see how complicated it is to do things. And I'm like, man, someone's got time to waste to figure out how to get there.
Very complicated?
Complicated enough.
Well, that's good for you guys.
Yeah, but still, imagine the person that makes the complaint.
Yeah. They're going to go through the hurdles.
It's like, are you kidding me?
So the government has a whistleblower website
just for that,
restaurants and bars if you order something and you don't get a bill.
Yep.
They made a whistleblower website.
Well, it's smart for the government because now you got to punch everything and you have to give a bill.
Yeah.
Now there's the other one, which is, what's the other law that was passed? There's the language stuff. If you don't have stuff in French, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Your French, you speak perfect French though.
It's
good. Your French is good.
It's passable. Again, growing up in the States, like when we were kids, my brother and I lived in the States, right? Yeah. My brother never had a chance to learn French because he was I think 2 years old when we got there in Michigan, and I was 5. I lost all of my French because I was in kindergarten. I lost all of my French. So coming back, my parents made the decision to move to West Island because there's a little bit more English.
West Island.
Yeah. But then
that's where we met.
Yeah. But then we had the issue that we had is the French wasn't up to sort of the rest of Quebec in the West Island. Mm-hmm. So my brother got to learn it very well because playing in Victoriaville, it's like all French. Yeah, that's it.
That'll do it.
And then me, it's hit or miss. Writing is not the best. Yeah. Reading, no problem. Speaking, sure, but it's very slang-based, slang-oriented, and thick English accent sometimes, depending on the wording. So they're like, wait a minute. Your last name's Demers. What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Then I have to tell the whole story. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we got, what other hurdles would you say there are for you guys?
Taxes. There's another one. There's corporate taxes. Jeez. Which is the funniest thing because I never realized that, you don't realize that you have a silent partner in your business, which is the Canadian government. Mm-hmm. When you make profit, you go, and that's something that, again, managers don't understand. Mm-hmm. What's that mean? Well, you see the number you see at the end there. It says that we made $100,000 this year.
Tax on that.
There's tax on that as well.
Yeah.
Well, what? Yeah.
A lot of people don't know there's payroll tax too. It's like, so to pay
DAS.
people, I always just give a nice round even number. It's like to pay you $100,000, I got to pay, the company has to pay another 15% tax on top of that. So it's actually costing the company plus the group insurance, plus. There's all these types of things. So that $100,000 salary is actually costing closer to us to $120,000.
Yeah. It is nuts how many times I've tried to explain that to employees. They're like, I want a raise. I go, okay. Yeah. And then I try to explain it to them. Yeah. And then they're like, really? And I go, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden costs.
But that's the funny part also is that a lot of people are defiant as well as far as employees go.
Defiant how?
Defiant in the sense that they don't believe you. Because again, you're the boss. The boss comes with a certain title. The boss is, you're against the man as an employee. Not everybody. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But there are some people where it's just like, I don't believe you. Yeah. It's like, that's fine. Whatever. Yeah. You don't have to. But what I'm trying to do is educate you in case you want to learn the business side of things. And that's what we're trying to figure out is have only people that are interested in the business of hospitality.
Yeah. And they're out there. There's a lot
they are.
There's people, that is one thing people do say, it's really tough to find good employees. And it is, but you just have to look because they're out there and there's a lot of really, really, really great employees that come and they're the reason why a business works. 100%. There's a lot of great ones out there. I mean, I'm biased, but like every employee we have at our office, I'm very happy. Joey, he's
like straight up, our whole team is a bunch of rock stars.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, especially now, a lot of them are people that just want to learn.
Yeah.
The spirits industry.
And they're the types of, this is the type of employee that you want to have around. They're interested in seeing the business succeed. And like one of my buddies, I was speaking to him, it was interesting what he said. He goes, there's two types of employees that I have. He goes, you have the ones that, let's say he's done a couple of acquisitions. So he goes, if I acquire another business, there's the employee that goes, oh, wow, there's probably room for me to have upward mobility now, to add more responsibility. I want to help integrate this business into the new system that we have. Then you have the other type of employee that just looks at it as more work. Well, in a perfect world, you want all employees that, have the mentality, the motivation mentality. But the issue with that, I find, is unfortunately, there's not always room for upward mobility, or at least there's not room for upward mobility right now. There might be in a year or 2 years. And I understand the employee's predicament too, because sometimes they're going to go, dude, I'm getting a little bit bored unless you're going to give me more work.
Patience is something that people don't have anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. But in their defense, or just to play devil's advocate, if you know that there's a role somewhere else that you can get, I mean, you're going to take it if there's more responsibility.
Yeah, but then the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
And that's what I'm trying to, and it's very difficult. And I say but I know a lot of people in the industry, especially that are cocktail focused or cocktail bar focused, are trying to do with their team. Like the guys from Baracco, I know they're really trying to educate everybody.
Great restaurant.
Yeah.
Baracco is really good.
Well, their group is awesome.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah.
The guys from Coldroom, the same thing. They're trying to educate their team and grow with their team. And if you look at it as a cocktail bar, like just that demographic, like those are the ones that somewhat relatively stand out. If I am forgetting anybody, it's just not popping in my head at the moment. But the way they're also growing within and with their team is where it gets interesting as well. And that's like, puts us in a hot seat as well, because we want to keep our employees. And most of our employees stick around. Like I have this rule of thumb in the just in the bar industry, there's the 2-year curse. As soon as 2 years hits, it's usually people's plateau. And we've had guys on the team that have been there for 5-6 years, and people don't quit. And it's really cool. I'm not saying that we have the ultimate work environment, but we're always trying to better it. We have full benefits and insurance for the team, for every employee. We have the bonus structures that we were talking about earlier. Because of my involvement with the international community the last 10-15 years, there's opportunities to travel literally around the world as a bartender. Like, think about that. What other job? Pretty cool. What other job gets to travel around the world for their profession?
Yeah, and you're getting paid to do it.
Straight up. Yeah. It's like a brand is paying you to go somewhere and go check out. Like, I've literally traveled the world on a bunch of different brands' dollar because they invited me all different places.
Sign me up,
dude. It's super cool, and
let's trade spots for 6 months.
For 6 months,
come run an insurance firm. I'll run a bar.
I'll figure out a way to get the travel in there. But it's been there's a lot of opportunities, but it's just patience.
Yeah,
because I didn't get that right away. I've been doing this since I'm 18.
Yeah,
dude, that's literally 20 years.
If you could pick one place to start up all over again, so you're going to do the same thing, open up bars, open up restaurants, or hospitality centric. If you could pick one city to start from, where would it be?
How much money do I have? That's the bigger question.
Let's say you got someone threw $1 million at you. You've collected $1 million.
I'd pocket $1 million and I'd run.
I'd be in Mexico.
Good question. I wouldn't say no to Montreal because I do see the opportunities. Opportunities being people are being introduced to more than just a base spirit now. They're learning about quality and not just quantity. But anywhere worldwide, to live, if I'm living there and opening a business, Italy for sure. But they don't really have, like, they have a bar industry, but they don't really. It's just different culture. States for sure, but I would look at a B market. B market being a market that's up and coming. So
like Tampa Bay or something like that.
It's funny that you just said that. I'm actually looking at Tampa Bay right now.
Bro, I can put you in touch with one of the guys there through, I won't say his name here, but through the hockey player down in there. And
yeah.
So I played golf with.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I played golf with this guy. His name's Ricky. Anyways, he owns a few of the biggest spots down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Knows the market inside and out. All of South Florida, actually.
Okay.
And I played golf with him in January. We were down there, but I can put you in touch with him, actually.
I wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
We're looking at that. I've been looking at Austin pretty seriously.
I've heard great things about Austin, yeah.
Beautiful town.
Yeah.
Beautiful town.
And what the guy was saying, too, just back to Tampa, he was saying that, like, here, because you just said 15% EBITDA margins, generally speaking.
No. Here, it's 15.
Okay.
But, again, the way I came up with that number, FYI, is that I'm very meticulous with what I open. Because, again, a cocktail bar versus a club, two different things. A club, if done right, their margins are amazing.
What is a good margin?
For a club?
25?
My guess is it's probably that. Again, I might be completely wrong because now it's supper club, which means you have a lot more overhead.
Yeah. And it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's when you're running a bar, it's the food part where the margins are
chops
a
you
lot.
The legs.
Yeah.
If you're not, and now it falls into another element because you have a chef, but then you need a kitchen manager because if a chef doesn't just like a bartender, if a bartender doesn't understand his cost, that glass that he's serving you, forget it. It's going to be expensive. Same thing as a chef. That plate that he's serving you, it's going to be an issue.
He has to understand costs.
Yeah, and it's not going to affect his pocket because he's got a base salary.
Yeah.
It's going to affect the companies.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure that out and see what's going on. So analytics is a big part of it.
All my buddies are in the industry. They all say the same thing. The liquor is where you make the money.
All of it.
And the food, a lot of times, like they're like,
the food is a side dish.
Yeah.
That's what food is. It's just it's there for, I'm not saying every space, but a lot of places that
think about, you have the waste. There's a lot of waste from the food, and look what you just said. You got to pay the head chef. You got to pay a manager. You have to
pay everybody in the kitchen.
Yeah, you got to pay all those people. Team. Whereas the food goes bad where there's waste. Like if you have alcohol, the alcohol doesn't go bad. You know what I mean? It could sit there for more than I can. It can't. Does alcohol ever go bad?
Some of them they do, which
like
is
after what, 2 years?
Well, your fortified wines they'll go bad.
Okay, the wines.
That'll go down. That'll go quick.
But your actual spirits.
But the spirits, no.
Like they could be there for 10 years.
More or less. Depends.
Let's say 5. Anyways, if
depends on which one, but yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, just that's a huge thing. That's why whenever someone gets into an industry or they're trying to sell a product that expires quickly, I'm always like, ugh.
Well, that's why with trial and error, what we're trying to focus on now is cocktail focused spaces.
Yeah.
Or liquid focused spaces with a nice small food menu. Very, very simple. Not complicated, not over the top. Enough to fill your belly, but just very, very
like
specific.
Tapas, small things.
Yeah.
There for.
And again, just being able to have the busboy or the bartender run to the back, make the food, bring it out, is the ideal goal. Reason being, you're saving money because I have to be able to justify, argument's sake, $25 an hour if somebody's standing in the kitchen. Not saying that they're not working, but there are times where there's dead space where they're just sitting around doing nothing. And you're paying for that. And that costs money. And people don't understand that. They'll ask me like, oh, why don't you have anyone in the kitchen? Well, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Like, or why don't you have a DJ? Well, a DJ costs, depending,
$300 a night.
Minimum.
Really?
Minimum.
Huh.
And imagine that DJ is unknown. Imagine it's a quiet night. Imagine I don't want to say it's a loss, but it can be a loss very quick if you're not careful. And if they start getting better and they build a following, all of a sudden that $300 turns into $1,000 a night. Jeez. Right away, you're down $1,000. not saying that a playlist is better, and I'm not knocking on DJs, but it's
There's
expensive.
a cost associated with all of this. Yeah.
Same as door guys or same as bouncers. Not knocking on them, but if you can open a bar, and again, Montreal is so taboo with the word bar. Just going to apply for a bar license, it's a big headache because a bar associates to criminal activity. Again, I go to my daughter's school. People go, "Oh, what do you do?" My daughter straight up, "He owns bars." And I'm just like that. I'm like, oh God.
It's interesting.
They look at you funny.
It's interesting you say that because we were crossing the border once with my buddy who also works in the bar industry. Mm-hmm. And he said that. So to the guard going through Les Douanes, what's not Les Douanes? How do you say that? The border. That's the
border patrol.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just asking us the questions. Hey, what do you do? Hi, I work. I forget what was I still student? Anyways, what do you do, sir? Oh, I work in bars. Right this way. And he came in. Anyways, we were fine. Like we weren't hiding anything. But he said, he goes, "Hey, as a tip next time when you're crossing the border, don't say you work in the bar industry. Say you work in the restaurant industry." He goes, "Oh, okay, thanks."
I'll tell you a better one. Last year, El Pequeño got nominated for top 50 best bars in North America.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. We got 29th.
Okay.
And I get to the border to get to New York because they're doing the big ceremony there. And guy asked me, he goes, "Oh, why are you going to New York for like 2 days?" I go, "Oh, we got nominated for best bar in North America, Central America and stuff." And he goes, "Oh, which one?" I go, "El Pequeño Bar." He goes, "Yeah, come with me, please." So I go, "Okay." I go to the back. I swear to God. He goes, "Guys, this is the guy that owns El Pequeño." "Wait, are you the guy that owns the Duck Bar too, Coldroom?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they go, "Those are our favorite bars in the city."
That's so cool.
Yeah, they're like, "We just want to shake your hand, tell you it's our favorite place." Dude, I swear to God, I was like, what the and I'm there with my managers, and I get out and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Dude, you won't believe what just happened." And they go, "What?" I go, "Yeah, it's the weirdest thing."
That's good. It's like you've built up a good brand with the duck. Like whenever I think of you, I know you have multiple locations. I think Coldroom.
So it's funny that you say that because that's something that I'm trying to master now or overcome, or I don't even know what the wording is for that, because again, something in Montreal, and I don't know if this is worldwide, so I'm just being specific on Montreal, but when you think of exactly that, you think of Coldroom, you think of myself.
Yeah.
So to open something else, it's very difficult if it's just me, because people are like, "Oh, you have that spot." And then the same thing goes with all of this voting stuff, like voting for a bar, El Pequeño getting voted like that last year. Coldroom should have been there, but Coldroom wasn't because most probably people were voting just for it. So it's just funny how it works, because a lot of people associate you to one, and that's it. And in order for you to sort of expand out of that, you need a team, and you need someone to, I don't want to say someone needs to be the face, because the face usually implies, like, think of an old school Italian restaurant where the guy's there every day. I'm the owner, but he's the host, like he is the owner, but he's hosting every night. It's not something that I want anyone to have to do if they own something. I want them to want to do it. Like completely different. It's like, "Oh, I'm going to go in tonight and just work the door." "Oh, okay, cool, man. Awesome." And that's the issue that I have now, is that everyone just associates Coldroom to me, which is not a bad thing. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's okay. How do we expand out of that now? We have 3 other locations that we're getting ready to open. How do I get that following to sort of go to another location and associate it with me as well? It's very fascinating how the intricacies of that stuff work.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now how you could. Do you want the Coldroom brand to be associated to those other places to kind of?
We've tried. We've tested it out, and a lot of, like, again, we've done some consultancy work with different bars in the city and different bars in New York and in Toronto, and they're like, "We just want your logo on our menu." Okay, like, is it gonna bring anything? Like, sure, we'll put it on. We'll charge you and our consultancy rates and everything like that, and we'll build your menu and we'll see where it goes.
How'd you come up with the logo?
Actually, a friend of mine, a good buddy of mine, basically told me a really cool story about the Rubber Duck Squad, which is an actual a police unit, which is now the Moralité, the nightlife squad, the gang squad, basically, that you see going to the bars.
Yeah.
The original team was back in I think it was the 80s. It might actually be earlier than that. And they were called the Rubber Duck Squad. And it was after the Brinks bank robbery in Montreal. That was, if you read oh my God, what's the name of the book? That's going to bother me. I have it at home. It's a book about the East End gang, the Irish.
West End gang.
The West End, sorry.
Yeah.
East End's another combo.
Yeah.
They were, in one of the chapters, they were part of the Brinks bank robbery back in like the 70s or 80s. And the Montreal police decided to come up with a unit to start stopping everything that's going on and start investigating this. And their whole mandate was take the nightlife by storm. And the idea behind that was really simple. It's go to bars and just cause mayhem. Try to figure out what's going on and try to figure out, who was part of this bank robbery. And their logo was a duck flying out of the water with his X's on his eyes. So we modernized it to an icon, which was a duck with his eyes blacked out, or his eyes
I didn't know
X'd out.
This is interesting.
But the idea behind the logo is that, again, we're trying to take the nightlife by storm, but in a positive, meaning change the culture. Working in clubs, it's certain culture that works there, but, working in certain places in nightlife and certain owners, bosses, whatever it is, even, managers, bartenders, there's a certain culture that people think, there's just a certain culture, and it's not the right culture if you're trying to run a business. And it could get bad very quickly, and you see people fall down these dark holes of drugs, alcohol,
drug abuse, alcoholism, and all that kind of stuff.
And everything else in between.
Partying,
because they think they have to, or they were introverts and they, start.
I think it's very easy to fall into that, though.
Very.
Imagine if you're working. I had a buddy, and he was working as a bartender a few years ago. He's working as a bartender 3-4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
That was his job. He was looking desperately for another job,
Mm-hmm.
like a 9-to-5 that he wanted to work in. He just was having difficulty finding something he wanted. He would tell me, he's like, dude, I am severely depressed right now.
Yeah.
He goes, all my friends, they all have 9-to-5 jobs now. I'm here. He goes, I hate my job so much. So it creates this vicious cycle because you're there, you hate your job so much. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to drink again. So he goes, I'm hungover every single time I go to work. I'm hungover the next day.
Well, that's now you're falling into company culture.
Yeah.
And that's where we've been pretty adamant about our company culture, and to the point where how COVID has affected us. It's affected us in a positive where we don't close at 3 anymore. We close at 1.
Nice. Smart.
And, everyone gets to go home. We have a cleaning company that comes in, take care of all of the cleaning stuff so that they can actually get home at a reasonable hour, go to bed properly. We encourage physical training. We encourage, the idea is to show that this can be a career and a business.
Do you let them drink on the job?
I do, but, and there's a big but. Our marketing, our promotion, any promotional drinks or anything like that can't go over 4% of our sales.
Okay.
If it goes over, we're going to have a discussion. And if I find out you're drunk during a shift, you're gone automatically.
Ciao.
Automatically.
Good for you.
You're allowed to drink and offer someone a shot, but you're paying for it, 50% off.
Okay.
And again, it's not to, what it is it's not, unless you're a manager has the authority to turn around and go no, it's on us. Again, it's not to push you away from the idea of drinking or anything like that, but it's just to try to educate you that this is a profession. And
you're at work.
If you treat it right,
yeah,
you can actually be in this for a long time and look like you're not dead. I've been doing this 20 years.
That was one of the things that
look like I'm okay.
Yeah, you look great.
So I'm trying to be. That's why the loose sweater.
No, we had when I worked at great establishment to work at Yield Orchard throughout university, we weren't allowed to drink, which I loved. In hindsight, sometimes obviously I'm a university student, 19, 20, 21 years old. Sometimes, man, I really wish I could take a shot with these people.
But that's the thing.
But the fact, looking back at it now, it was the best thing that could have happened. I mean, also too, I'm a student. You shouldn't be drinking like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night anyways.
It's tough. It's tough on the body. And again, it leads to it can, I'm not saying it does, but it can lead to other things if you don't know how to treat it. But
it's like the saying always goes, no one needs to be lectured on the benefits of not drinking. You know what I mean? So
as long as you, and it's funny because that's why we're starting to focus a bit more on like aperitif style cocktail bars, like low ABV, low alcohol content.
Yeah.
So like everything we're opening is all like lighter cocktails versus like the hard stuff and like the straight up shots and stuff like that, which is really funny how things are starting to shift and change and alter.
Do you guys do mocktails?
Yeah, we have a mocktail list in every bar now.
What happened with this? Where did this come from? This explosion of mocktails? They're becoming more and more popular. I see them all over social media.
You asked the younger generation. Like my generation, we're all booze hounds.
Yeah,
like everybody.
Mine
just
too.
Drink.
Mine too. Yeah.
Now it's mushrooms and whatever else. But I think they're just a bit more mindful as far as what they're putting into their body, which absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that's where the whole placebo starts coming in. And what's a little bit more interesting about that is, or even low ABV cocktails, it's you still can go out and have fun, and not stress out of the pressures of having to drink. Because take it from a guy who's an introvert and goes out with some buddies and like everyone's boozing and you kind of get forced to drink, not literally, but you get peer pressure without being peer pressure, if that makes any sense. And that's something,
loosen up, have a drink,
but that's it. So then you're just like, oh man. So same thing goes for in the bar industry where you're working behind the bar. If you're not careful, some places do encourage drinking. It's very loose the way they do it. But if you can pull off not necessarily drinking during work, because again, it's work. Like what other job are you, like if you were working a 9-to-5 job, are they going to let you drink? It's not Mad Men.
No,
it's not the 60s.
1950s or 60s, whatever. Yeah.
It's like, it's a job. Like you need your wits a little bit.
Yep.
Because if not, you're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
So
they still kind of have that. There's the drinking culture in London. For England, for insurance, it's a lot better than it used to be, and they're trying to get away from that. So like one insurance company in particular, everyone knows it's out in the open. So Lloyd's, a lot of them don't drink anymore, but they're still like the old guard. They'll still go out at lunch, they'll crush 2-3 pints, and they'll go back to work. I don't know how they work after.
It's crazy.
I don't know how you go to work.
Even one drink, I'm like, ugh.
I could do one. I never do. I don't drink at lunch, but I could do one beer and I'll be fine. 2 beers, it's like
it's over. It's over. But it's the same problem. It's like my sort of career has sort of turned from after 5 to 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Which I'm very comfortable with.
Yeah.
But the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it's like I have to hone in because I have a lot of stuff to do Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Whereas after 5 o'clock, even then, if I start drinking with clients or anything like that, it's also an issue because not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't have the time. And
you don't feel like shit the next day.
But that's it. If I'm busted,
I'm
not 20, like I'm circling the bases for 40.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's calm it down here.
I'm the same way. If I get after it, it's a 2-day hangover.
Yeah.
It's 2 days.
So, and to me, I'd rather go to the gym 5 a.m.
Yeah. You feel so much better.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy going out and seeing buddies and stuff like that, or going, getting a bite to eat, with like a glass of wine.
Within reason.
But it's, apart from that, and hence why the idea of cocktail bars specifically, it's a place where it's, like I was saying before, it's quality. Not saying that other places aren't quality, but when it comes to what you're getting in a glass, it's going to be quality versus just quantity. Like, here's a bottle. go. Which again,
like
those are great margins.
Yeah.
Like, because you look at it like this, selling one cocktail versus one bottle.
Yeah.
Let's say the drink is $20.
Yeah.
You just put down a bottle of $250.
Yeah.
And odds, I'm saying $250 5 years ago. It's probably like $350 now.
$300. I think a bottle of Grey Goose. I went out a couple of weeks ago.
So do the math.
It's $300.
It's like $60 the bottle, 65, let's say.
Yeah.
$300. Do your margin.
Yeah.
And then you have a glass, a cocktail, $20, where it was probably about $4. If it's $20, it's probably about $4 that you have to make it. Easy. And then you're not including breakage, spillage, the napkin that's under there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people,
the labor.
I learned the trick of the napkin at Rouge, believe it or not. When I was the first day I started managing, my boss sits me down, which I'm really grateful for because I understood the value of $1 after that. He goes, Kevin, we have a problem. I go, okay, what's that? He goes, our wastage on how much we're spending on napkins is disgusting.
Napkins?
I go, what do you mean? It's like, we're spending, like, it's not that big.
It's a napkin.
I go, it's a napkin. What's the problem here? But that's exactly how we're thinking. It's a napkin. Just like it's a straw.
There's a cost.
It's still 20 cents.
Yeah.
Do the math. If you take a handful of straws and just throw it.
Yeah.
But that's one person, and there's 1,000 people walking in your space.
Remember that theme back in the day? It would have been 2006, 2007, 2008. For whatever reason, I'd be going to these bars. One of them was Discoteca in particular. And for whatever reason, the theme was you just grab a stack of napkins and you would throw them in the air. This
is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we had I think it was like 17 bartenders working, and he looks at me and he goes, here's your budget.
Yeah.
And this is where I learned all of this stuff. It's hilarious. One thing taught me so much. He goes, this is your budget. Don't go over it. You go over it, it's coming out of your pocket. Okay. So I'm there Friday night. And then I see just napkins going up like a surrender flag. What's going on here?
And then people are just throwing
and I'm everywhere. Like that. And I race across.
Yeah.
And I just go, I see the employee and I go, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to lose my job. What are you doing? She goes, what the hell's your problem? And I'm like, dude, you're just wasting. Like, what's going on here? She's like, are you kidding me? I go, do you know how much you just spent right there? She goes, what, like 5 cents? I go, oh my God, losing it. Because again, this falls back to a whole other subcategory of what people aren't being taught. And that's not just for business, but in life, the value of something is so not unworthy. It's insane. People don't understand the value of $1. Mm-hmm. Or the value of an item or a thing. It's like everything that you get presented, whether it's a meal, whether it's a glass, whatever it is, a shoe. The shoe comes in a box. The shoe has wrapping. The shoe has, depending if it got shipped, it's got shipping wrapping and boxing and this and that. A box on top of a box. That's a cost, man. It's not free.
No, there's a cost for everything.
And a small business, especially if you're not careful as to how much things cost, you're going to get clipped at the knees very, very quickly.
It's very easy though too, because like I used to be the same way when I first started working here. I didn't have equity in the business at the time, and I thought money grew on trees.
Do you feel that having equity in the space now has changed your opinion?
Absolutely.
Right away out of the gate?
Immediately.
Yeah?
Immediately. It made me understand more about, money doesn't grow on trees and there's a cost for everything here. And even if I want to do these other projects and, to grow the business and stuff like that, maybe if you're asking for a lot of money from someone who's lending you money, they're going to ask for equity. But there's a lot of people are very naive at the beginning to exactly what you just said, what it actually costs to go and do something. Mm. And as soon as I got equity, I kind of just realized, I started looking at the business a lot differently. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, if you can kind of, in my experience, tying in performance for employees, or in your case, hey, I'll give you a cut of the profit or whatever it is that you're doing as a bonus, they're going to start thinking differently too. And that's great what you're saying. You know, that's a great thing that the guy at Rouge taught you about costs right away. Hey, there's a cost to this. There's a cost to that straw. There's a cost to that napkin. You just broke that glass. There's a cost to that.
The funny part is I didn't realize it up until I started owning my own business.
Yeah.
Which was really funny because I was like, oh man. And I use that every time as an example.
Because every employee, especially if they're younger, under the age of 22, they all think every restaurant or bar owner is rolling in cash.
Dude,
they think everyone's loaded.
Did you see my jacket?
I thought it was a nice jacket.
It's ripped apart.
I thought it was a nice jacket.
Wait till you see my car.
But this is the thing. It's like a lot of times they're not rolling in cash. This is just the reality. And they're just trying to make it. A lot of restaurants and bars in Montreal, because I can speak for Montreal, are barely making it. Like the majority of them, they're not making a lot of money. A lot of them.
What's the word? It's they're basically they opened a business to pay for their job.
Yeah.
Whatever that job may be, if they're an owner, if they're a manager.
Like it's very often
literally paying for your job.
Yeah, they collect a salary and then the profit at the end of the year is.
But that's
not a lot.
But here's the thing: there's factors to that. That's money management. That's marketing. That's if your team understands the idea that they need to go out and promote not just themselves but the bar. Dude, I've been doing that since I'm 20. Where I would go out to other bars and restaurants. I wouldn't even drink. I would literally be there. Hey man, what's going on? Kevin, I work there. Send some clients over if ever. I'll do the same with you. That's how you make relationships. And if you do that, it's amazing what can happen. And then when Coldroom opened,
guerrilla marketing, baby.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It works. I agree.
What I ended up doing after that is realizing Coldroom is in a touristic area. I just started going to places where I knew tourists were coming from. So the main places, New York, Boston, Toronto, Ontario, or Ottawa, Chicago here and there. All of those cities, they all come to Montreal in that area. And I just started going out, connecting with people with different bars and restaurants, because most of the time, who do you ask where you should go when you go to a new city? You ask someone who's in the restaurant industry, or somebody who travels. Yeah. So if you're smart enough, you attack those people and you get to know them. And if you get to know them, you'll be surprised how far that'll go.
Did you ever try and infiltrate the hotels in the area?
Of course. That was the first thing that I did. But how I did it was very different because I was a lone wolf, right? I had to do everything. I had to learn how to do my costing. I had to learn how to do my managing. I had to learn everything A to Z, my ordering. And then I had to learn how to market on my own. So I'm sitting there like, okay, how can I get this going? And I ended up going hotel to hotel, and I knew most of the concierges already. But what I ended up offering was something different than everybody else. I'm going to go and pick up the client. If you have a client, they're never going to wait at Coldroom. I'll go and pick them up at the hotel, walk them and or drive them and or Uber them to the bar. And they can walk in, get in right away. Even if there's a 5-hour waiting line, it does not matter.
What an experience.
And I'll sit with them if I have to. Like if that's what they want, we'll hang out. And then I'll bring them back to the hotel or I'll bring them somewhere else. It's like an exclusive concierge, basically. And I did that for about 3 years. And it got to the point where I was starting to get celebrities nonstop. So Christina Aguilera was one. That was the one that really got Coldroom like blew up.
Okay.
Soon it was in the newspaper. She was hanging out at Coldroom. She even posted something that she was there.
Sick. And you personally brought her from the hotel to Coldroom.
Well, her security guard, Omar, who at one point we were texting Happy New Year, Merry Christmas every year till COVID. And he brought her, and then I took care of her and her whole team with my manager at the time. And even him, he was sitting there. He goes, dude, I've never seen her have this much fun before. I go, really? And he goes, no one's bugging her. She was going up to, I swear to God, I still remember this. She goes to the bar, sits down next to a couple from Alberta, and they just newly married. They're in Montreal for their
honeymoon.
And they're like, freaking out that they're sitting next to Christina. And then she goes, she's like, where are you guys from? Oh my, just started talking to them. And like, I was just like, what's going on here? Like we've had a bunch. Harrison Ford came by, Woody Harrelson, Ben Stiller, name it. The closest that we got to a president was Barack. He went to Coldroom? He was supposed to.
Okay. Was that the time where he had dinner at Joe Beef, the Liverpool House with
and
Trudeau?
they couldn't get out.
What do you mean they couldn't get out?
It got so busy that they ended up just finishing their night there.
Okay.
But he was staying next door to us.
Okay.
And his whole Secret Service agent came in. They came in daytime just to check out the space, cameras, asked me a bunch of questions, and then they said, we'll be back later tonight. All right, cool. Like, we'll let you know. I was like, all right.
So Barack Obama almost
didn't. Yeah, it was
almost
close.
visited.
It killed me. I was like, come on, man. So
that's still pretty cool. The fact that they were there to just go check out the spot for a quick drink.
My favorite was John Krasinski and Emily Blunt came.
Okay.
When we redid our when I was starting to get money, so it was like a year and a half in. So we redid our banquette section. Well, we built one. We didn't have one at the time. Couldn't afford it, and my buddy who built it miscalculated something, so the stools were off. So I had to get new stools at the same time, but they were coming in a week later.
Okay.
So basically, if you were sitting on one side of the stool, you're like looking up like this, and then somebody else is sitting. So you're like this, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up sitting there. He ended up becoming one of our like best clients for like 6 months while he was here for Jack Ryan.
Okay. They filmed that in Montreal?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was sitting like here, and then Emily Blunt sitting up there. And they were just pissing their pants because he's like 6'4".
Yeah.
He's a tall guy.
Emily Blunt, she's so beautiful.
Yeah, she is. In real life too. Like, yeah, very, very pretty.
Yeah,
so
she's one of my celebrity crushes.
Yeah. And it's been a fun ride for all of the spaces because I never thought it would amount to what it's come to at this point. And I've been like really, really blessed about that because, could have went a different direction completely. And like I told everybody, it's like, listen, we had no sign. We have a doorbell. No one thought it was going to work.
It's a very unique experience.
Yeah.
I think that's what probably, well, more than I do, but I bet you that's one of the reasons why it's been so successful. It's not like anything else.
I hope that's why it is. I also believe that a space needs to have something that you can connect with, where it's like you have something. It's this is the bar to that. There needs to be something. Like example, El Pequeño. This is the bar that's the smallest in Canada, 140 square feet. Coldroom. This is the bar with the duck, or this is the bar with the doorbell. You don't know where you're going. I'm a firm believer in the way someone speaks about your business. It needs to say what it is like instantly, especially a bar or a restaurant. Like that's the bar that does, or that's the bar that is, and you'll see what it does.
It's the establishment's identity.
Yeah. If you do not have an idea, like for me at the end of the day, if your business does not have an identity, or if we're opening something just to open it, I don't want to be a part of it. Just it's for what? It's boring. It's like if I wanted to do that, I'll open a McDonald's. Like it'll just be easier.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Like,
you don't have to worry about the branding. It's pretty much just if you want to open up a McDonald's.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah,
it's
cookie cutter.
Nothing wrong with that, but it's not something that I want to be involved in. I'd rather be involved in things that have meaning, things that have an identity and a culture as well, which is super important. Company culture. And it's fascinating what you can get out of it too. And people that are involved in it too, especially if somebody walks into the business and that's part of the team and has an idea. We're not going to shy away from the idea. We'll have a discussion about it. And if it makes sense,
let's rip it.
Let's just add it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like I'm not shy from that. Like for what? I'm not going to turn around and say it's my idea. It's mine.
Yeah.
And start pointing the finger. Like I know people that do that, but for what? Like I'd rather go, yeah, okay, it's a good idea. Let's try it. Maybe it's going to expand the concept. Who knows?
I think that's a really good place to end the podcast.
I agree.
Kevin Demers of Coldroom, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
It's the first time we've done a morning podcast, I think. Yeah. Is it the afternoon yet? I feel like it is.
It is now.
Jeez, wow. Okay.
Oh my God. It's
12:47. Oh, Mamma Mia. We've been going at this for a while. But guys, if you like it, Freemium Podcast, like, subscribe, share it with one of your friends. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking soon.
We'll be around.
Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.